Nation, what's up? Happy Thursday, guys. Stoked to be here hanging out with you all and literally bull crapping because I think that's just about all I have in me tonight. But, like when I get hella stressed, which is the case over the last week, that anxiety's up, that tension's up. I also hurt my back. That's not helping. Just like socializing, hanging out, and laughing and cutting the crap. Deeply therapeutic exercise. So thrilled to have some whiskey therapy with you all. Brian, welcome. Good to see you, man.
Thank you, sir.
Why don't you share with the fine people before we get into this who we're sponsored by?
We are, if you all didn't know, officially, unofficially sponsored by High Noon Sunsips, the 100-calorie gluten-free, no added sugar. That didn't zoom in. Vodka and soda, tropical punch of life. I went and picked up some pineapple just before the show. I somehow always end up empty right before the show and have to go get a freshie.
I am drinking the grapefruit, and it tastes so much like real grapefruit. I mean, it's truly remarkable.
I was torn tonight on whether I should get grapefruit or I should get black cherry. Eric seems to be a big fan of the black cherry. I wanted to revisit it, and ended up with pineapple like normal.
So the grapefruit is it tastes nothing like Pamplemousse LaCroix, which is barely grapefruity. You know, that's essenced. This has real grapefruit juice in it, and it tastes delicious. I mean, it's just pure refreshment. So big fan, 10 out of 10, would recommend. If you guys aren't following Eric Sawyer on Instagram, he's doing the 30 days of seltzer as I do the 30 days of bourbon, which I haven't posted every day, but I've got my record up to date. So if you missed last week, that was a fun chat with Jeff Schwartz, the mastermind behind the 30 days of bourbon in conjunction with Bourbon Heritage Month. Good chat. It was enjoyable. Tonight's chat, far less structured. We're going to talk about some whiskeys. We're going to talk about the NFL, which, as you can guess by my generally metrosexual appearance, I'm not exactly an NFL expert. Growing up, I loved it. I watched a lot. But you guys know Swing Nation. I only have time for one sport, really, and I spend an inappropriate amount of time watching golf. And so, yeah, I'm not exactly up to date with the NFL. I know Aaron Rodgers. There's a thing there, a lot of drama. Him and Shailene Woodley. Apparently, he got together with Shailene Woodley, and now he wants to leave the Packers. Those two things may or may not be related. We'll get into this stuff. Although, I was following the Bucs last year. I'm not a Tom Brady fan, but I'm not a Tom Brady fan. But it's pretty remarkable what happened last year with the Bucs. Anyway, we'll get to that. First, Brian, what are you drinking tonight? Not including the High Noon. That was a given.
Dude,
that was obviously a given.
I haven't poured myself something, so I will right now. And this is a sample of questionably bourbon or questionably rye. I'm not actually sure. From Peerless. This is a Speakeasy single barrel selection. I don't remember if it's a bourbon or rye. So I'm gonna pour some of that and have that to taste on, and then my pineapple vodka soda.
Nice. I've not had any whiskey yet, but I'm gonna get into two whiskeys as we go throughout. And the first one I'll probably start with is the Benchmark Single Barrel. If you guys follow my Instagram, you know I came across this in my travels in. I called it Nowhere, Indiana. It was actually Terre Haute. I think that's how you say it. First, I found this at Meyer in Terre Haute, and then I found a bunch at a other local liquor store. Also, so I passed on a few bangers this week after we had tasted in a blind recently, Brian. So I'm almost getting into what did you buy this week? I'm going to drink this. And then I bought two of these. No, three, because I opened this one. Then I got two extras. And the reason I did is because my wife tasted it, and she's like, I really like that. I want to have that around. And I'm like, sure, I'll get you some. So Benchmark Single Barrel, quite good. We'll talk more about this. But what else did I buy? I got the Remus Repeal Batch 5. I popped that. We'll talk about this one a little bit as well. I got Benchmark Full Proof Buffalo Trace stuff. But I passed on some high dollar bottles, and that's because my basement is shambles, as you guys know. It's now quote unquote fixed, but I'm now quote unquote out a lot of money. So I passed on Sam Houston 15, and the reason I passed on it was because you weren't a believer, Brian.
Oh man, no. So the Sam Houston that I tried at Evergreen, and Tom is in the chat. We got to meet up this past weekend again, and we went to drink at Evergreen. So he'll now know the bar that I'm always at. The Sam Houston I had was very earthy and very unenjoyable, and the Calumet 15 to me much superior. Now I know some people seem to have batches released to them of Sam Houston 15s that they very much enjoy. I wouldn't mind trying them, but to me, you know, all that stuff that fit in the Doc Swinson and everything like that, you know, it's that kind of herbally, questionably Jim Beam stuff. This just tastes even more earthy than that. And so to me, I was like, it was just kind of flat and not a vibe. So I think it's a good call, but I do think if you see it, you should pick up the Calumet. They have the Calumet here for like $102 at our Total Wine.
Yeah, it was 100. So I saw that as well. 130, and I passed on it again because I have to make decisions. Like we got to make calls at some point, and so I did pass. Even though you and I tried it, I liked it a lot, and I was like, oh, I should try and get some of this. But yeah, I passed on it. And so the liquor stores in Terre Haute, if you guys have a chance, you should go because there was a lot more too, like some interesting barrel picks. I did pick up a Knob Creek 12 because that's a favorite of mine. So I got another one of those. But yeah, passed on a whole lot of stuff. A lot of interesting stuff that on any given day I probably could have bought. So, you know, what's fun is to get in these small towns and go to the local stores and see what they have. Because in Milwaukee, everybody's buying all that stuff the minute they see it. But that's not necessarily the case elsewheres, in different places. So, yeah, it was a fun weekend. Had a fun weekend with friends. Coming back, though, and getting into work, which work has been fine. It's been good. It's just been crazy busy. And I need to go for a long walk, I think. I need to go golfing. It's been a while. I played 9 holes with Eric a couple weeks ago, and then 9 holes like a week ago. So I haven't really got in much golf, but hopefully. Actually, I don't know when I'm going to get in golf again. I don't think I'm going to get any in this weekend because I got to clean the basement. So we'll see. I don't know. Just take a deep breath. Anyway, what did you buy this week or the last couple of weeks?
So I ended up doing a trade with a guy for this bottle of Four Roses here.
Another Four Roses single barrel.
Another Four Roses single barrel. So it's a tier 6 from this RS79 run. Other people have been seeing this RS79 run of OESFs. This one came from Jackson's Wine and Spirits. But I had a couple of my Roses friends who had said of the run, this one's really good. I had another actually in the series 2 that was from a special event that I wasn't able to make it to a couple weekends back. And also, another OESF. It's downstairs. So I don't have that. And then I just picked up some stuff when I went to get some High Noons. So I lucked into some of this Old Forester Warehouse K.
You lucked into it at a liquor store or at when you were just happening to drive by Old Forester Distillery?
At the liquor store where I got my High Noons.
Get out. That's just good for you.
Now, it's one of those places where the price is a little bit higher than retail. Sometimes it's a lot a bit higher than retail. But the thing that kind of stinks about stores like this, but it's also nice when they're close, and that's where I go to get beers or something like this, or maybe like a ginger ale or a root beer for my daughter or something, is that they fluctuate the prices. Some that's a negative, and you're like, oh shoot, they just raised the price on this thing. Like, that's dumb. But then sometimes they drop the price. And that was the case of this. And I just said, give it to me.
I want that. Nice. Matt Schwanda said he passed on Calumet at 140, probably wise. Passed on Remus 5 at 150, which who's charging that? I mean, I understand why people are. We'll talk about it in a minute. But that's way too much. And it's not $150 good, I'll tell you that right now. Sam Houston 15 at 250. That's ridiculous. 1792 full proof at retail. Yeah. I mean, at $40 or whatever the full proof retail is, it used to be 40, it might be 50 now. Some of those full proof picks are bangers for sure. Had a few really, really solid ones.
I don't know if I had a chance to tell you this.
Oh, real quick. A lot of folks in the chat are saying they don't have Remus 5 around them. You know, I think with the older whiskey in this release, and the fact that people are maybe finally cluing into that this is good whiskey, this one is a little harder to find. There's a couple places around in Milwaukee where I can get it. So I got to decide whether I like this one and whether I want to drop, the 80. It's only $80 at certain stores around here to get another one, but we're talking about 12 to 16-year-old MGP, 100 proof. Not a bad deal. Anyway, what were you going to
say? Two things. I think I forgot the first one. No, I was going to say something about another thing I heard. Oh, I don't have the bottle to show, but I don't think I got a chance to tell you that that 13-year Elijah Craig pick that I was like, this is a super dope pick that Justin's did. I was able to snag a backup.
Nice.
So
nice. You love that one, right?
That one is spoiler. That one is a contender for like one of my favorite pours of the year.
And that's not the barrel proof. That's the 94 proof.
Nope,
right?
It's 94 proof, but it just has a flavor about it that's just so good. And for the price, it's just so dumb good. So, I mean, it's not a limited edition or anything like that, but it's just a fantastic flavor. Fantastic flavor and a fantastic price.
What are they charging for those? What were they charging?
I mean, theirs were like $40, which is still pretty high. I mean, Elijah Craig.
A 13-year-old Heaven Hill, though, even at 94 proof, that's a great deal.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I mean, that's one thing I just love personally as a side note about Elijah Craig is, we have a Buffalo Trace, and I would drink Buffalo Trace all the time at 100 proof. Not that I don't at 90, but almost every bottle I go to, I'm like, this is just a little softer than I wish it was. And people love Rock Hill. They love Elmer. They love Blanton's. Blanton's is just 93 proof. Elijah Craig just takes it up one touch more. And for something that's so widely available as a small batch on the shelf, it always comes off rich to me. There's been very few Elijah Craigs that I've been like, oh, it's kind of thin on the palate.
Yeah. Dude, check this out. Dan Barber. I traded 2 Blantons for a Sam Houston 15 and then Elijah Craig 18.
Wow.
Yeah, you just robbed somebody.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I like it. I'm sure it was like your friend who just loves Blantons and you were well stocked and they're like, I have these, and you're like, yeah, give them to me. But I'd be interested in hearing the story behind that because that's highway robbery in your favor. So good job, I guess. But hopefully somebody feels like
how do you determine that, dude? Corey's saying, how do you determine the age on the Elijah Craig? Great question, Corey. Generally, you can't unless they do put it on there. Some stores will say like Deatsville 10-year, Deatsville 11. They'll put that on there. I mean, they probably have that information from the pick. It's just whether or not they choose to disclose it. I don't know if they're as open as Buffalo Trace. If you write to Buffalo Trace about a serial number or a batch number or something like that, they'll generally give you all the warehouse specs about it. I don't know if Heaven Hill does that, but they specifically said that this was a 13-year pick, so I have to trust them on that. But the age profile did taste
well, Justin's isn't gonna lie. Like Justin's is a reputable. I mean,
I can imagine Total Wine doing some crap like that, but
they sell unicorns at exorbitant prices, but that's kind of their business model. But I would trust Justin's, is what I'm saying. Big Dogger, should I keep paying $50 for Mckenna 10s? Dude, I'm in on that. Like, I think that's a good value still. So, yeah, I'm going to buy at $50. Every time I see it, I'm going to pick up one because I love it. It's fun to share. So I tend to open one and then go through it fast. And it's always nice to know I've got more. kind of stowed away a little bit. So yeah, my answer is yes.
That'd be a good
Eric,
question for the chat. Just real quick. So I know that one is bottled in bond, and I know that one isn't, but Elijah Craig is it is a small batch too. I guess there's several things that are against it, but Elijah Craig I feel like is easier to find on the shelf, only
Well,
6
yeah.
proof points lower. But I would say it's rare that you have an Elijah Craig pick that's less than 9 years. They're all 9 and above.
Sure, you mean the pick. So which would you choose, an E. Craig pick?
Oh,
or
it's a good question. I
Mckenna
mean, what's the standard Elijah Craig? You're right. I think the picks are all 9 years and above.
That's been my experience. When I bought ones where the age statement was disclosed, it has never been lower than 9. And I have never had, I had one. So I was gonna say I've never had an Elijah Craig pick that was bad except one, but then I used the word never, so that's not helpful.
You're right.
Anyway,
Elijah Craig is bottled 8 to 12. 8 to
correct.
12.
Yeah, it's a batch of 8 to 12. Sometimes it doesn't taste that old, but anyway, we don't know where the barrels are necessarily coming from in the Rick House. What I was saying, all the picks I've had of Elijah Craig have been very, very nice, with one exception, and it sucked. It was super hard to drink. It was so bad. I was trying to figure out like what was, and this liquor store is not necessarily known for crushing it on their picks. They actually did one of the more recent Four Roses picks, which I got, and I was a little bit nervous about. Like, of course, this is going to be the one I get. But that Elijah Craig pick was just not good. And I was like, who thought that this was great? Or they literally got shipped 3 options and they all sucked, and they picked the best one of the 3 that sucked. Maybe that was it, but I don't know. She said Blanton sits here. Sits where, dog? At $70 all day. We trade off, and he can't get it where he is. He offered, and I accepted. Well, no shame in that game. That's what I'm talking about. PSF Hybrid just saying hello and cheers. Just touched down in Louisville. Noise. Can't stay for the live stream, but I'll catch the playback at some point. Sick, man. Enjoy the time.
Welcome to Louisville.
Got Perry in the chat. Well, I mean,
What's up, Perry?
I did get a haircut last week. Gonna be in and out. Yeah, it's football, right? I mean, some folks are watching football. We're gonna talk a little bit of football. We're just going to really bounce around however we feel like talking tonight. So this is a perfect night for questions to make this interactive. Eric Sawyer really hits us with probably the question of the night, and that is, how many pumpkin spice lattes this week, Brian?
That's a fantastic question. So of Starbucks PSLs, I have had a total of 0 pumpkin spice lattes from Starbucks this year. However, we finished up the barista submissions for seasonal drinks at the cafe, Quills, and I've spent the last 3 days drinking through our PSL and other fall drinks. So I would say probably 6.
Nice. We always, our PSL gets released the last Thursday in August every year. So, and of course, it's always the biggest seller of the season. Here's a fun thing. We're working on our holiday drinks, and these ones are only around for like 6 weeks. But we are going to do an old fashioned, and we're going to do this. We've created a saucy syrup, which we're going to create in a very large batch. But it is barrel aged honey, so it's really a riff on an old fashioned. Barrel aged honey, Traverse City bourbon cherries, which those are fantastic. And the barrel aged honey, we're aging ourselves in a Traverse City bourbon barrel. Yeah, and then bitters. That's it. You just blend that stuff up, and then it's great in a latte. It's great in like light roasted cold brew. Fantastic in a light roasted cold brew. So I'm pretty stoked on that. Just finished the basic recipe development on that today, and gonna make a video about it, which I've been making a lot of videos, just not whiskey videos. So you should follow Stone Creek Coffee on Instagram and YouTube, because if you want to see some more coffee-ish related stuff, that's where you can maybe see it. And I'm making those videos, so that's on work hours. Yep, that's it. That's all I got. I think we're gonna close it there. No, not really. Dan's just crushing, I guess. Got me for an E.H. Taylor barrel proof, and I got a blood oath pack. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, you took the L on that one, so it's good that you got him back. I am not a blood oath fan. Brian, what's your take on blood oath?
Never had any of them.
Yeah, my opinion is they're just fine. Like, that's fine whiskey, but I've never been like, man, that's really good. I'm like, that's fine. It kind of tastes crafty. Yeah, it's not at the level of some of the Bardstown finished stuff. Carlos, will Stone Creek be selling that syrup? No, because we can't, like, some of this stuff we can manufacture for consumption in the cafes, but we can't, like, shelve it and sell it. Like, there's different regs, food safety stuff. Not a lot of fun. Randy Wilds watching the game, listening to y'all, sipping Four Roses single barrels. I assume select a barrel proof. That sounds fantastic. Yeah, I feel like I almost turned on the game, but I actually don't have cable. So I'm sure that Twitter's probably streaming or something tonight. Because it's the boys, right? It's the boys against the Bucks. Growing up, yeah, let's talk about this. And then we'll get into some of this whiskey. But growing up, I was a huge Cowboys fan, and I'm still if I'm pulling for somebody, I'm either pulling for the home team, the Pack, or the boys back home. And I enjoy watching football, but I would get growing up so emotionally invested in the success or lack thereof of the Dallas Cowboys because let's be honest, since 1995, 1996, there hasn't been much of any success for the Dallas Cowboys. Last year, Dak almost got his leg amputated. Not great. So that's not a win. So I'm just like how much energy do I have to invest in this other thing? Like golf is chill. Like I feel like I can really mellow out watching golf. Football, not as much. So it's kind of a life choice. I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. A lot of skill. It's very manly. A lot of sweat involved, big muscles and stuff. Just not things that I empathize with.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything I just said you don't necessarily think of Drew P when you think of those things. Oh, JCB says the game is on NBC. Well, I could get it on down here, but also we're not going to go all night, so I can probably catch the end if I want. What's your take generally on football, Brian?
I like to watch it. So, I lived 11 years in Cincinnati. So we were around the Bengals, but the Bengals suck, man.
Yeah.
And there's always that rivalry about the Bengals and the Browns, who suck even more. It was a terrible state to live in. But my sister's a really big Colts fan. Was a big Colts fan. My dad's not really a big pro football player. He mainly watches college sports. But coming back here, we're semi close to the Colts. We're semi close to Tennessee. I personally have been a Buccaneers fan since NFL Blitz came out for the Sega Genesis.
Was Trent Dilfer the quarterback in that?
Dude, I don't even remember. I just played as them because they had a pirate logo. That's how old. That's how young I was, and how long ago NFL Blitz came out on Sega. That's the team I played because they dominated. They dominated the game. They were so strong.
I think
but I'm pretty sure they were widely considered a horrible team back then.
But they won the Super Bowl in like 2000 or something. And I think Dilfer was a quarterback, wasn't he?
Yeah, but it was probably like mid-90s when on that game came out. But it is nice. I mean, it is personally, I know a lot of people hate him, but personally, I think it's fun to watch Tom Brady play.
Sure.
And specifically especially out of the Pats. It's just one of those things in life where, you used to be able to look at the team and say it was a product of this kind of combination. You kind of got sick of that, and you always just want to punch a face through who looked like Dexter, right? His face. And but there's something that I appreciate about someone going to another team and saying, like, we could do this again in a different era. Not even just in sports, just in life in general, starting new brands, moving on to new things, being able to grow and do well from the ground up again. It's not really ground up, I guess, but I think it's fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Like massive respect to the dude. And honestly,
yeah, and a great first kickoff to NFL like matchup, really, so it's fun.
Great.
I'm watching the game cast while we're streaming.
Oh, okay. Well, you can give me the play by play or the score at least. Score update.
Tom's Tom threw one, Dak threw one. Looks like Tom again. That's where we're at right now. 14-7.
14-7. Okay. All right. William Wiley with a good question. Thoughts on High West American Prairie picks? Generally, I stay away from American Prairie at all costs. Local Total Wine has a pick finished in peated whiskey barrel. Well, it depends on what you think, Will, of that tire fire, my dog. As is well documented, that was not my favorite pick. But American Prairie, again, I do not like it, but finished in peated whiskey makes me even more nervous. I like a good peated scotch. I got a couple of them. But as we talked about last week with Jeff, I just think American whiskey has struggled to get the peat up in it. So,
hey, something take. You might be interested in. I just remembered it. So I'm drinking this Peerless. I think it's a bourbon. I'm drinking this Peerless bourbon. I saw an email go out that they're doing an event soon because they're doing a double oaked bourbon, and the dude brought me a sample of it yesterday, and it has a lot of that Christmas spice, that Christmas cookie spice that you really like in the limousine rye. I think it might be a bourbon that you enjoy.
Interesting. Do you have any idea what the MSRP is supposed to be on that?
Let me try and see if I can pull it back up. I thought I got an email about it. Kentucky release on the Saturday, the 18th. Available while supplies last. First bottle of blank. Here's a little event. Oh man, I'm sorry for the boringness. Let me see if this link takes me to another link where the bottles will tell me. No. Why would it not have the price? It doesn't though. Dude, they're putting a Goodfellas pizza in Louisville. Are you familiar with Goodfellas pizza? Do you watch Barstool Sports or what's his face? Yeah, you have to. You made the reference to it last episode.
Yeah, the pizza reviews. Dave.
Do you remember him? Reviews. Do you remember him going to Goodfellas in Lexington? He ripped on him real bad. I think.
No, I did pass a Goodfellas south side of Chicago the other day. I was like, "What's that?" Yeah, I mean, I can't give an endorsement of Dave Portnoy. I wouldn't do that, but some of the pizza reviews can be entertaining for sure. I mean, he's a cultural aspect at least. I do listen to the Barstool Golf podcast. I said I do listen to the Barstool Golf podcast. Yeah. Edward Fulmer asked, do you guys follow MMA, the only sport that matters? So here's the thing about MMA. My take, like this is hot takes time, and then we'll talk about this benchmark. We'll transition into some whiskey, but of course we can continue to banter. I mean, the theme of tonight's show is bullcrap, so here we go. It's one of those things that when you're watching it, you cannot look away. Like, it appeals to something in humanity. I just don't know if I like what it appeals to. So I watched the movie Warrior. Fantastic movie, really great movie. But I'm not a huge fan of MMA because I just wonder why. Like, I'm constantly left asking the question, why? Like, there could be a lot of money at stake, and I don't feel anything in myself that feels like, oh yeah, that would be fun to beat the crap out of somebody or to have the crap beaten out of me. Just not my deal. And I kind of wonder why it would resonate with somebody at that level. That said, it seems to. Like, there seems to be a human pull toward physical conflict that seems almost instinctual. I don't know if that's one of the better parts of human nature. So while I think we generally have an appreciation for people who can physically dominate, and I would say I do too, like that's truly a remarkable skill, like to have the courage to do that, to like have your leg broken, as happened with Conor McGregor recently. Like, just bad things can happen. And when you're willing to go in there and do that thing, even way before you get to, making bajillions of dollars with each fight, like that just takes some massive stones. So respect. That said, I just like I kind of question our culture in that's one of the highest forms of entertainment. But that's my take. So that's not that it's the right take. This is how I feel about it. I'm not really a big fan. I appreciate it, but it's not for me. When I say appreciate it, I mean just like I appreciate the skill and the courage. So anyway, you have any takes on MMA you want to share, Brian?
I'll watch the pay-per-view matches, but I could take it or leave it. I did start doing it's not mixed martial arts though. It's just like boxing. I started taking a boxing class, and I appreciate the maneuvering, and like all sports, when you really kind of get into it, seeing the styles that people will take and thus the interestingness of the matchups. Same thing could be like with the oil patterns in bowling, or the golf and weather, or the course and weather conditions with golf or disc golf. I like the unique challenges that certain matchups have. I find it intriguing. So, specifically, like when you're talking about with the Conor McGregor match last time, I thought it was interesting to see. It obviously was not the result that I expected, but it was definitely intriguing going into the match to see exactly how that was going to go down. Or not what's the one that happened before that? Holyfield and that was boxing though.
Well, yeah. So I mean, there've been a lot of interesting. What's happening in boxing is super interesting with the Paul brothers doing more like celebrity boxing matches. But I don't know a lot about that. I just think it's interesting. I know boxing purists they think it's a joke. Anyway, it's entertainment. We'll move on. Let's get into some whiskey here. All right, let's talk about Benchmark for a minute. I saw that these were released, I think last year. I don't know if they are perpetually released, but there was a decent amount of this stuff on the shelf still down in Terre Haute. Maybe it's because I was in Terre Haute. But Benchmark, if you guys don't know, this is Buffalo Trace's, excuse me, high noon coming up, the esophagus. This is Buffalo Trace's bottom shelf brand, one of their bottom shelf brands. But they did a whole lineup of, what are they? Single barrel, full proof, like top floor or something. That was like 80 proof. There was one other one, some low proof stuff. But the single barrel's at 95 proof, and then the full proof is at 125 proof. So I got the single barrel. I was like, let's just taste the single barrel. Let's try that. So I tried it, and I was like, I'm impressed. I like it, and I'll taste it and break it down here for you guys for a little bit here. So I went back and bought some more, and that's when I bought the full proof as well. And my friend got one. We opened his, tasted it. I was not as big of a fan of the full proof. On the single barrel, like it tastes like it's probably not super old, like 6 years maybe at the most, but it's a really solid pick, and I don't get heavy grain. I get a lot of sweetness, and I'll pull out some more notes in a minute. But on the full proof, which is a batch product, obviously, I did get a lot more grain. I was telling Brian before we jumped on, it's the nuttiest, grainiest Buffalo Trace product I've had. I would not say Buffalo Trace products are nutty in the least. Like, they're the least nutty bourbon on the market, for crying out loud. Right. Dickel is more nutty in a different kind of nutty way than Jim Beam is nutty, but Buffalo Trace is not nutty at all. Benchmark Full Proof was kind of grainy and nutty. It was a little bizarre. So I've got 2 bottles of it now, but I was hoping that it would be more like Stag Junior and be rich, even though it might be a little less refined. It's not. It ain't Stag Junior, and so they will probably be given as gifts. Thankfully, what did I pay for them? $20 a bottle for the full proof, and $30 a bottle for the single barrel. So good deals. I did not overpay, didn't pay close to secondary. I think I paid under MSRP for the full proofs, which I was generally thrilled for. So not a lot of risk up in there. But the single barrel, which Brian, you said you've not had these at all?
I've had the full proof. That's the only one that I've had.
Oh, right. Yeah, sound off if anybody in the chat has had these benchmark, either the single barrel or the full proof. But the nose, you know what I should do? I've got an open Buffalo Trace pick, and I should do it side by side with this because the nose is really rich. I mean, it's light. It may be a bit of brown sugar, but it's mainly vanilla. But it's really, really sweet vanilla, kind of like birthday cake, and that just turned me on from the get go. Hold on, and we'll do this side by side with the Buffalo Trace. All right.
Need to go to a different pour myself.
All right, so I'm going to put single barrel.
Good time to remind everybody this show is officially unofficially sponsored by High Noon Sun Sips, the gluten-free, no added sugar, 100-calorie vodka and soda treat. That is High Noon Sun Sips.
It is a treat. It's super refreshing.
I should call our fall blend Sun Sips.
Nice. I love that.
No one will know, but I should do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably trademarked, but maybe not related to coffee because trademarks have kind of limited jurisdiction. Okay, so benchmark, Buffalo Trace store pick. Oh, man, very, extraordinarily similar nasal properties. It's just very pronounced vanilla. Maybe a touch more like young whiskey in the benchmark. As I mentioned, I think it's probably less aged as a general rule than the Buffalo Trace. This Buffalo Trace pick is quite good, though. The sweetness it's honey, it's vanilla. Not much going on in the Buffalo Trace, just generally yummy, kind of a chewy mouthfeel. Back to the benchmark. Maybe a touch more spice on the nose too, like a touch more grainy, touch more spicy. A little bit more bubblegum. And yeah, a touch of black pepper. So this Buffalo Trace pick, very, very good. Probably a little more refined. But the single barrel is really, really sweet. And that spiciness and bubblegum just adds some dynamics to it that the Buffalo Trace pick doesn't have. So really, really good. And very, very easy to drink profile. So this is a nice Buffalo Trace substitute. But I would dare say that it may be better than standard Buffalo Trace because I think this Buffalo Trace single barrel is really good. So 10 out of 10 would recommend on the benchmark. Well, probably not 10 out of 10, but definitely I would recommend on the benchmark single barrel if you guys get a chance. I wouldn't spend more than $35 on it. Like I said, I paid $30, and to me it's worth every penny for that. But I'll keep picking these apart. But I do want to welcome Matt Porter to the stream. What's up, my dude?
What's up, bud?
Yeah, I mean, Matt's been a good week, but it's been a long week. I was telling the squad at the start that I just needed this. I needed to unwind. I needed to rant and rave like a lunatic for a little while, crush a high noon, and sip some whiskey for a little bit.
And Matt should be made aware. I did comment on Bardstown Bourbon Company's post about World's Top Whiskey Taster. And I said, because they talked about how they've contacted the folks from the Chicago loop. And I said,
which I did not hear from.
Which Drew did not hear from. And I said, did you contact all the contestants that will be participating in all the sections? Because mine was in Georgia, which isn't until November. And they said all of the potential candidates have been contacted. So Drew and I both suck so bad.
Well, so
and we didn't even ask questions. Literally, all we did was say we want to be in, and they said, "No, not these guys." It's the high noons, dude.
Yeah, maybe it was. So here's the thing: is the application process was interesting. It was 3 very basic questions, and I don't even remember what all of them was. But one was like, "Tell us what you think or what you know about bottled and bond." and I forget what the others were. So you literally just talk into the camera for a few minutes and then hit submit. And then they use that to narrow down the field, which is fine, I guess. But you got to wonder, like, what are they looking for?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not that, you know, we're just two guys who love bourbon, you know, and who like to talk about it and know a decent amount about it, taste it a lot. You know, you'd think that we kind of match the criteria, but we don't know what the criteria is like at this point, because we weren't asked to taste something and break it down as part of the, you know, application process, which is fine. But yeah, Matt, if you have any insight, which you probably don't, but if you did, which you probably don't, but if you did, that'd be helpful. I'm not crushed. You know, it's fine. It is whatever. Here's a question from Nick. Hey, Nick. What's my favorite now? My favorite what? I really struggle with favorites in general. Just like, oh, what's your favorite? I don't know. You know, it's like asking me what my favorite kid is. Like, I don't know. Probably shouldn't have a favorite kid, but thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah. It's good to know.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair,
Well, I mean, he's been on the channel, so
to be
like,
fair,
is
if he went back
himself?
and watched our episode of our first blind that we tried to do, he
or the
probably was
second
like,
blind.
he probably messaged, "Oh, Sam, these guys suck. You should not have either of them waste your time." Cowboys came back. Cowboys are scoring again, dude.
14-14.
It's 14-13 right now.
What am I drinking regularly? I go to Henry Mckenna.
Did I lose you? Hello?
Hill. We talked about Elijah Craig.
There you go.
What just happened?
It did some weird. I lost you.
Yeah, I lost myself. Nation, sorry. I just.
That happens, you know?
Comment if this is perpetually bad. I may have just had a signal problem. Anyway, Henry Mckenna 10, Elijah Craig, standard or store pick or barrel proof, very good. If you're looking for like generally everyday available bourbons, which I would do if I was you, Rare Breed from Wild Turkey, or the Wild Turkey single barrel Kentucky Spirit, or Russell's Reserve. All great products. Elijah Craig is readily available, the standard one. Highly recommend that one. Brian, throw out a couple more standard everyday bourbon. So you're like, yeah, those are good.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that if you're able to get it, like Early Times Bottled and Bond or Old Forester Signature 100, these are good bottles you can pick up, you know, inexpensively. My go-to would be Elijah Craig, a go-to of mine, or Russell's pick. It's a little bit pricier, but honestly, the Russell's 10-year is very inexpensive and a very good product as well. Definitely recommend the Russell's 10. That's stuff that hits my profile generally.
Yeah, and then Four Roses, even the standard Four Roses single barrel you can get at the store, very good. I love that one.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Absolutely true.
Yeah, if I'm gonna go just pick something off the shelf that I know I can get at pretty much any decent liquor store, it's gonna be a Russell's Reserve single barrel or the Four Roses single barrel, 9 times out of 10. Then everything else that I would prefer over that or reach for on any given night is probably a little more allocated. So Nick is like, what's your favorite barrel proof? Mine is, so you've had the Elijah Craig's barrel proofs, Russell single barrel. Yeah, come on, you've been around the block already. Then you know kind of what's up. If you want to know more on
Nick's looking for some George T. Stagg Rex.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I wish I could get you George T. Stagg. Can't do that. I don't have magical powers. Well, you're only 1 month in. You're doing a pretty decent job getting to the good stuff. Then Knob Creek single barrel also quite good, but on the more allocated basis, what I tend to reach for, I mean, Stagg Junior is incredible. Especially the everything after batch 12, so good. Brian is able to pull some really incredible stuff out of Kentucky, which I cannot complain. Of course, nothing. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. We lost him. This I may have just. Hopefully that was him and not me, but maybe my signal went to crap. Is that you? Or is that me?
I think it's a Freudian thing that every time you mention something that I have like a strong, like subconscious distaste for, I end up exiting out of StreamYard.
So you don't like Stag Junior? Because if you want to help me get some, that would be great.
I mean, I don't have a lot of access to Stag Junior, but it's not really my favorite. But
wow.
I'd be willing to be turned around. I was told that I need to try Batch 12 and that my life will be different in what I think about Stag Junior.
Yeah, I mean, Batch 12 and Batch 15 are the ones that are supposed to be the top two. I have a Batch 12. It's just unopened. My open one is Batch 14.
Now, Tom did go with me. Again, we went up to Evergreen and had a drink at the bar there, and I tried their Stag Junior pick. I don't remember if I mentioned on the show before, but this Cox's Evergreen Stag Junior pick that they did it was very tasty. It was off profile, I thought, but revisiting it this weekend wasn't what I thought it was. But Tom was a big fan of it.
Sweet.
Look at Nick. I got a 2020 GTS just chatting with a liquor store owner first time in the store.
Anybody think we're just getting played by Nick here?
Nick is cleaning up in Houston right now.
Yeah,
Nick, you should probably be sending all of us Weller 12 because you have access to all of that there in Texas.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Based out of Houston. Yeah, there's a small chance we might be getting played by Nick a little bit. If not, welcome to the channel, and you're doing a great job. You probably don't need a lot of help. Good luck to Nick. Yeah, surprises. Where'd you get the George C. Stag? Everybody, you can't tell people you pulled George C. Stag out of a store by talking to a liquor owner. That poor liquor store owner is gonna get the.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Please don't send people info. Your personal financial info. It's gonna unravel. This is interesting exercise in human nature, right now.
ASL, Drew.
What does that mean?
Are you really that young? You don't tell me that. Were you never on Instant Messenger?
No, I wasn't really. But
Man.
You can hit me in the private chat. But anyway, I've got one more whiskey to talk about. We'll move on from trading Stag Junior or George T. Stag in the chat. Unwise. Careful.
I got one more of these samples to pour too.
At risk of offending anybody, what does ASL mean?
Age, sex, location, dude.
Oh.
William Wiley knows what's up.
Yeah. So just by and large, if somebody reaches out to you and they're like, just be careful because there's a lot of Instagram scamming going on. I'm not saying Nick is doing that because we're not on Instagram, we're on YouTube. Just by and large, there be people like, hey, I got some stuff, you want it. You need to do some due diligence checking. And let's talk for a minute. I got a great topic to talk about, and that is the heist episode about Pappygate. Did you watch this, Brian?
I still haven't watched it. No.
Well, okay. So maybe we should do a whole episode on this. But I thought about doing an episode of the Drew P. Whiskey Show. I'm just so behind on all the content I have already. I got to get it out.
All right, real quick. Hold on. Before we talk about this, everybody, since no one uses it anymore, everybody who was on AIM, please show me your AIM handle. Okay. Mine was BB Guns with 3 Z's. Okay. Everyone throw it, and then it switched.
That's amazing.
And then it switched to My Name is Brian. My Name is Brian is not because my name, Nick, we can meet up. It's definitely going to be police department. Okay. Interesting. There's some interesting stuff going on in the chat. Yeah. My handle was My Name is Brian, not because my name is Brian, although my name is Brian. It's because I was a big fan of Primus and I love the song My Name is Mud, but the name My Name is Mud was taken. So I went, My Name is Mud, and it was also taken. So I went, My Name is Brian, and it was taken, but My Name is Brian wasn't taken. And so ever since then, My Name is Brian.
Nice. That's a good story.
Dude, McComment Face continues the good vibes with their old AIM handle as DJ Beat It Right. Okay. So it's not a one-hit wonder with the handle names. William Wiley was What Would Jesus 911? Oh no, it's WJW, not WWJ.
William J. Wiley, yeah. Well, although I like What Would Jesus 911. I feel like that's
Tom
good.
remembers putting the AOL disc in.
Yeah, well, I remember. Like, don't get me wrong, I was around during AIM, but it was at the
Hey,
tail
Nick,
end.
real quick.
I didn't use it much.
But I'm giving a cheers to Nick. My wife's a nurse, and I know what it has been like. Or I've heard. I can empathize with what it has been like for the last 2 years. So thanks for everything that you do, and both talking with people and people who don't have any sense, and for everything you do in the field. It's very much appreciated if you haven't been told that yet today.
No doubt. Would echo those sentiments. Just I would reiterate caution because while I big fan of Nation in general, there are a lot of folks who watch the show who I don't know, and when you meet somebody online, there's a lot of danger there for everybody. So just be careful. And there's going back to Heist. There's a lot of really sketchy stuff happening in Bourbon. Which I've talked about before, but I left. So, I was a member of a secondary group because I like to stay up to speed. I like to trade. But after watching Heist, I left the group. I'm off. I'm out. I'm out of the secondary market. Like, I wasn't very active there. But at the same time, like, just knowing the level of stuff that goes on, and I know that the amount of whiskey being moved in that show, of course, it seemed to be stolen directly from Buffalo Trace Distillery, which made it a hot topic. But it's not unusual for people to move a lot of whiskey over the secondary market. Like, I've talked to multiple people who know multiple people who don't work. They just flip whiskey on the secondary market, which, again, let's reiterate, is illegal. And they're not reporting that revenue to the IRS. How do you think the IRS feels about that? So, like, there is a decent chance that those active in the secondary market at some point are going to get bundled up in a much larger bust associated with illicit whiskey sales. That's not something I want to be a part of. So, again, I'm generally fine with trading. It seems to be like a legal gray area. But it's just not worth it. It's not worth it to me to get caught up in that. Like, would it be nice to have some bottles I don't have? Heck yeah. Like, am I fine? Like, do I think it's necessarily a problem to buy a bottle of whiskey from somebody? No, except for the fact that it's illegal. It's like marijuana. Like, do I think marijuana necessarily should be illegal? No, but it is illegal. So do I have marijuana? No. So, like, because of that, like, so that legal issue is like, just, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And it's not illegal everywhere. It's illegal in Wisconsin right now. But so anyway, that's my point. That's sort of it. I think it was very entertaining. So the episode of Heist, very entertaining. No big spoiler alerts here. But it was a good, like, hey, you need to be careful. Like, if we're active in this industry, I want to be super careful. And that's one of the reasons we don't do, like, pay for giveaways on here. Don't offer to buy whiskey from me. I'm not going to sell it to you. And if you ever see anybody from under the name Drew P. Whiskey trying to sell you a bottle of whiskey, this is not going to happen. So that's it. That's all I have to say about that. Any thoughts? Thoughts and prayers?
Bucks up 21-16. That's all I had.
Was that another handle?
Oh, apparently my Alexa's telling me something. I don't know
Interesting.
what's going on with that.
What? I don't know. You said something.
There's an Alexa, but we had to replace our HVAC system like half a year ago or something.
Yeah.
And it came with this new, it's eco thermostats, and it's got Alexa built into it, and she listens way too closely. much.
Yeah, sometimes when I talk to Siri, then my phone will turn on. And just because I said Siri, I bet it shows up. But anyway, that's kind of annoying. Even if I said seriously the other day, and Siri was like, yeah, can I help you? And I was like, no, because I wasn't talking to you. So it is a little weird. So Garrett, I'm also seeing this happen in Wisconsin. I don't know if it's related to the distributor, but something like a Russell's 13 or a whole case of William LaRue Weller, some joker will be like, yeah, I got 6 available of this, 900 a pop. And somebody's like, okay, cool. How in the heck did you get that? And they're like, well, it's who you know. Well, yeah, it's who you know. You must know a douchebag. And granted, I'm ranting, raving like a lunatic right now, but it's deeply frustrating. And like the bottom line is people do weird things and often illegal things when it comes to like making an easy buck. Please don't do that. Like, the moral of the story is don't do that. And yes, I'll judge you if you do a little bit. But can we be friends? Maybe, but probably not. All right. You talking about Pappygate or something new on ice? Yeah, I was talking about Pappygate, which again, very entertaining. Moral of the story that I took away is be super careful. Grab great bottles off the shelf, enjoy them, trade them with your friends, drink them, look at them on the shelf, even if they're yours. I'm not a keep all your bottles open kind of guy, but whoa. My friend literally saw 2 guys get handed a whole case of Russell's Reserve 13. Yeah, I mean, I had to call in all my favors to get one. And, it was completely above board. But, yeah, anyway. It's a thing. Let's move on. Brian's going to keep crushing some high noons. I'm going to move on.
Hey, so let me do another thing. I'm going to make a mention.
Go for it. And then I will move on to the
all the time
Remus.
All the time on my channel and a good bit of time on this channel, people ask about Four Roses. Is anybody in here in the Mellow Moments Club? Did you register for the Mellow Moments Club drawing for the 2021 LE? And did you win? And if you didn't, or if you are not in Mellow Moments, if you have the ability to go to Four Roses, the distillery, in the next 2 weeks or so, I am putting the link here in the chat for Enjoy It First. And there is a public raffle for your chance to purchase one of the Four Roses 2021 limited editions. Now you will have to pick it up. Now you will have to pick it up in person at Four Roses. So if you can't make it, please do not take an opportunity from somebody else, because I know from experience they will not just contact another person and give it to them. They will have only a certain amount of bottles and they'll just end up hanging on to it, or they throw it into distribution. So if you don't think you will make it to Lawrenceburg, Kentucky between the 18th and the 30th to pick up a bottle, don't register. Don't ruin my chance. Don't ruin Drew's chance. But if you but if by chance you won and you had to drive to Lawrenceburg and you would, then go to the link I just posted and sign up about it.
Yeah. Which I don't know what the actual odds of that are, but I was willing to take them. And I was like, yeah, if I get pulled, I told you, I may have mentioned it on a live. Like, I was thrilled to get Russell's Reserve 13. If I get the Four Roses LE, I'm done. I'm done this year.
I am
happy man. I mean, I'm a happy man already most of the time.
Yeah.
But when it comes to
I'm stoked. I'm stoked. I'm excited. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I want Garrett. Just look up a little bit. Drew, can you highlight my comment real quick?
Yeah, if I saw, no, I don't see it, dude.
I posted it. It's up there. fourrosesbourbon.com/enjoy it first. I'll post it again.
Yeah, it didn't show up. That was weird.
Let me see if it did it not the first time. I'm doing it. This is the third time I'm posting it.
I got nothing.
Oh, weird. It's interesting. It's actually not. You're right. It's not sending it through. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Does this send it through? Wow.
Are you in the chat or in the comments?
I'm in the chat, dude.
That is weird. So
I did it that time, but there's spaces.
What's the link?
And I see it there. I see it in the chat now.
Oh yeah, there you go. All right.
Um,
Oh, Tom had to permit it.
Yeah, so I really am looking forward to this more than most things. I did actually hear too. I don't know if we're talking. You said BTAC or something else, or at least you said that maybe we talk about it. I was under the impression earlier in the year that there would not be a King of Kentucky this year, and now I'm hearing there is. So now I'm like, okay, I really want that Four Roses.
Mm-hmm.
I really want that King of Kentucky.
But you're a big fan of that brand.
I'm an enormous King, my favorite pour.
Oh,
and
wow.
and then if I can get a stag, that would be like the triple icing. On the cake.
That's a lot of icing. That's a cake with a lot of icing.
But I mean, if I'm able to get a Four Roses, which I trade too, so I have I don't think I'm gonna not get a Four Roses. But I'm hoping to get a Four Roses. The other two might be difficult to acquire. So I got some stags last year, but I did purchase them all secondary. So, yeah, I ended up doing some trading and getting some, but all my stags acquired last year was secondary. Not necessarily on the secondary market, but here in Kentucky, and I'm sure everywhere else, there are places that charge a lot for stuff. And I had tried it and I really liked it, so I pulled the trigger on a couple.
Secondary means,
yeah,
if not secondary market,
or local store with secondary-ish prices.
Matt Porter just threw out a very legitimate question, and it was, how are you not a moderator?
How am I not a moderator?
I don't know. I never thought about it. So now you're a mod. Welcome to the Wrench Club. Yeah, nailed it. Thanks, Matt.
I don't see a wrench. Do I have to log out and come back in? Where do I see a wrench?
Lord knows. I don't know. But I just hit add moderator.
Thanks, man.
Name.
It feels good. Oh, you're now a moderator. Close.
Let's go.
Wow. This is the best.
Now you can
look, there's a link. Wow. I feel so here.
Yeah, you weren't here before, but now you are.
Can I siphon money out or anything? Like, what all features do I get from doing this?
Real quick, I've got an idea. Hey, Matt, I wanted to ask you a question, but if you want to come into...
Will you be the godfather of my... What?
I'm going to send Matt an invite to get into this chat. Matt, you can just chat with us about a couple things if you want. Hold on. This is going to take me a second because I don't have your phone number, so I'm going to have to send it to you on the Instagrams. But I wanted to ask you, have you had the Remus Batch 5? Because I'm about to get into that. So just hold on and I'll send you this invite and maybe you can talk about it with me if you've had it. I recall somebody posting a video about it, but I don't know. I don't remember if it was you. Okay, wait for it. And maybe you're busy. Maybe the kids are asleep. Maybe you got your headphones in. Maybe you can't jump in. But maybe you wanted to. Maybe you wanted to join us. Maybe you thought it'd be fun. And we'd all just have a good time. And we'd stay up till midnight. And we would talk about life. And, our first crushes. Puberty. Stuff like that. You could jump in. I just sent you the link.
This is my first crush.
Literal first crush of the night. Yeah, I drained mine pretty good. I can throw back a bubbly anything pretty fast, but I felt like that had some staying power. Like, it's not a small can, It kind of looks like
you can definitely tell. You can definitely tell compared to White Claw. It definitely has some weight to it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the alcohol content is light, so
Can I tell you something? I don't remember if I told you this story or not. But speaking of trades, a year ago, I was talking to a buddy. I was looking for, you guessed it, a particular Four Roses, and
big surprise.
This guy said, yeah, man, I'll do it. Do you want to trade for like this Old Forester barrel strength? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Like,
I've heard you told me this story, so I'm actually gonna. You tell everybody, but this is my
Yeah.
time. We're an hour in, so I will go to the bathroom. All right, I'll be right.
So I was super excited because it's from this run. It's also OESF run from the HW55 runs. And this particular run of Four Roses has this like smoky characteristic to the back that kind of reminds me of Knob Creek or something like that. Anyway, it was a pick from Liquor Barn that I had tried and I wanted to acquire one. And so we were talking about doing this trade, and we met up on one occasion, and I had the Old Forester, but he did not have the Four Roses. And this guy was a little bit difficult to get in touch with. So I left him with it, and we're like, we'll connect another time. We'll get some drinks, and then we'll get that Four Roses. At this point in time, a couple months had gone by. I was a little worried that that he didn't have this bottle anymore. He had opened it or something. Fast forward to like a year ago, and which is now. Fast forward a year to now, to like last week, and I'm still every once in a while I'm like message him, hey man, can we get together? Like I'd really like to get that. Let's get some drinks, whatever. Never happened. Last week it finally happened, but upon the day of meetup, he said, hey man, do you have your heart set on that Four Roses? And I'm like, oh no, that's it. It's gone. The Four Roses is gone. And he's like, because we could do that, but I also have some Russell's 13s. Would you be fine with the Russell's 13? And I'm like, man, I really want this Four Roses, but I love the Russell's 13. And if we're talking about deals, I definitely think that that's the one that that comes ahead. And so that is what we did. That's what we did. Dan Barber says the podcast didn't care for the new Kentucky Owl. Which Kentucky Owl we're talking about? Is there a bourbon or is there a rye that came out? What new Kentucky Owl came out?
I don't know. There was a live stream last night with Dixon on it, on the podcast channel that I did not watch, but I think that is what is being referenced currently. It looks like Jason over at Mash and Drum did a Remus Repeal 5 video, which I could do a video on, but that's not really my shtick to just taste a whiskey, which is fine. That's not normally how the videos I make. I brought some Ritz.
Got it.
Needed some. We're gonna just taste the whiskey here in a little bit, but we're gonna calorie up.
Some Ritz crackers here in a little
bit.
And
I'm gonna wait for Matt. Matt said he's got to get the kids down. He needed 10, so we're gonna give him a few because we got plenty of time.
Yeah, let's do halftime. So.
Oh, is it? Yeah, let's do a review of Ritz crackers.
Garrett, batch 16 has still not hit Louisville yet. And E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof has not hit. Let's also talk about the fact that we saw that E.H. Taylor Rye Barrel Proof was going to be coming out.
That's a great point. So it seems like Buffalo Trace is going to release some really interesting whiskeys. There's a rumor that Stag, I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but that Stag 2021 will be hazmat, like super hazmat, like 145 level hazmat.
There's a website that it's a state-controlled website. So maybe not, but they had put up the proofs for 2021 with the Stag being 145 and with William LaRue Weller being 122.
Interesting. Now, it's totally possible it was supposed to be 135 and they hit a wrong key. Who knows?
Yeah, but one to be 145 and the other be 122.
No, I can see one being 122, but like, that's
pretty low, dude. But it's low. But 145 is also is that the
crazy
highest?
High. That's the highest ever by a long shot, by like 4.
No, not a long shot. There was ones that were at least 144.1. George T. Stag proof by year. I thought there was let's go 144.1 was 2016. So not that long ago. Not that long ago. There was 142.8 in 2012. 2012 actually happens to be probably one of my favorite stags.
It's so hot.
2011 was 142.6. 2010 was 143. 2009 was 141.4.
Okay.
2007. A lot of people say that 2007 is one of their favorites, and the 2007 was 144.8. So this would be the highest proof Buffalo Trace. I couldn't imagine it be as great. It's going to have all that new Buffalo Trace flavor and not all the old flavor. Also,
I clearly I'm
dude,
not that familiar with Stag, obviously, because I didn't realize that many were having
Stag.
And it's because I've tasted 2 batches. I've tasted the 2019 and I think the 2018.
I love King of Kentucky, but I wish I used to have a 2012 and 2014s, and I don't anymore. And I wish I still did.
You had those Stag? You mean you drank them all, or you traded them away?
14. I've got this much left in my last 14. This much. This much. A swallow.
You should probably drink
a swallow. I use it to remember. I use it to say, can I take a sip and remember what it is compared to other things? Usually against King of Kentucky's.
Over the course of just a few days, we drank most of this bottle of 2019. It's the lowest proof Stag ever at 116.9.
Yeah, incredibly.
But we enjoyed it. Oh yeah, really enjoyed it. And I imagine it'll probably be gone before 2021 is over. But the sad thing is, this is my only antique collection bottle. So
we should know.
So I'm not in a rush.
We should know soon.
Yes,
about this,
things should be very confirmed about Buffalo Trace. Yeah, as you said, very soon. And then there's that E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Rye, which that's interesting. You are not a big fan of standard E.H. Taylor Rye, is that correct?
Yeah, I was surprised by the profile. Honestly, it was. It's been a while since I've had it. I will admit, but you know me, I'm not really on the Buffalo Trace bandwagon, and so these aren't products that I keep. It's not products that I go after. So they're all pretty much products that I've had 2 or 3 years ago at this point. So besides like standard Buffalo Trace, but I don't go after Elmer or Rock Hill or very, very little of the Weller lineup. E.H. Taylor line. I do like the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof bourbons. I would say the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof bourbon is probably like my second favorite product of that BT makes outside of George C. Stagg.
Well, it's basically George C. Stagg, but a little younger. It's like Stagg Jr. than E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof.
I think it's a better. I think it would have made a better Stagg Jr. than Stagg Jr. makes a Stagg Jr. It's a better product to me.
Well, yeah, but it's also worth more on secondary. Like, I think the MSRP is higher on that too. Yeah, it is, because it's in the 90 range.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know what Stagg Jr.'s actual MSRP is, but E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof is $69.99.
Okay, so it's $10 more than Stagg. Anyway, just waiting for Matt basically now to talk about Remus. You did not get a batch 5. Have you ever purchased a Remus Repeal?
No, but my buddy did let me. He left me with this if I wanted to try it of batch 1. Not a big fan.
Yeah, well, I heard it wasn't very good. I have not had.
So I feel like I've seen them, but I've never gone after them.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like it screams value. I mean, it's well-aged MGP. Now at the 94 proof, I was less inclined to be like, oh, I should get it, especially when the reviews were, it's fine. But then when batch 3 came out at 100 proof, I was like, okay. Now that one was very orange. Batch 4 was quite good. I have a batch 4 still, but I wanted to try batch 5 because what's unique about it is the age. It's got the oldest juice in it that MGP has ever released themselves under, MGP brands. it's not the oldest bourbon totally, because technically I think it's a 12-year bourbon, but it's got 16-year-old in it. The second highest or second oldest juice they released was that 14-year bottled in bond Volstead Reserve, which I was tempted to get, but at a $200 price point, I passed on it innumerable times. Just that's a big ask. I did spend $200 on the Blue Run at 14-year, but I kind of, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that bottle. Clearly not going to sell it on the secondary market, but I may trade it to a friend or something. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll drink it. Who knows? Anyway, so I will sniff this and think about it for a minute, and we'll see. I mean, I think Matt's just kind of building up to a grand entrance. Anticipation. We're all anticipating Matt Porter to just show up in this stream, bless us all with his presence. So talking about MGP products, like this one being unique because it's so old. If this was 100 proof blend, 12-year-old blend that was bottled under the OKI or New Riff or Old Scout brands, people would generally, it'd be bought up pretty quick. Would you agree?
Yeah.
That's an interesting power of the brand and the hype, right? I'm under the Remus Repeal Reserve, they're getting maybe a little bit more awareness, but it's the same stuff. But because
you say it's proof down though, right?
A little. I mean, just because MGP, I've got a few MGP single barrels that are just over 100 proof. I've got two.
But there still wasn't a ton of hype for. There was moderate hype, but there didn't seem like there's a lot of hype for that New Riff one they put out because they proofed it down to 100. I think people just get mad about that. MGP, if you let it be barrel proof, it's not that high, man. There's no reason really to add water to it. You're talking about the teens, maybe just below the teens, maybe just above the teens. As they go up, those reserves, the OKI reserves, which were small batches, were in the high 90s. You know what I'm saying? It didn't need to be proofed to anything. And so
10-year-old Scout that was below 100 proof. I've got a Bell Mead 12-year cast strength here at 101.2 proof.
But I feel like there's some people too who understand, and I'm not trying to say this as a dig because I've not had every product, and I know there are ones, and I know there are ones that can surprise you, but people have access to MGP in runs, and I don't know who's the broker for who. But I also feel like some of this could just be track record. There are some people who could have just bought Majestic MGP. And I say this because if you go back to old dads drinking bourbon podcasts and stuff, they will tell you need to be looking for Bell Mead bourbon distilled in 2006. They'll tell you the month to the month of the range of Bell Mead bourbons to buy. So what they're saying is Bell Mead does a lot of MGP, but these MGP ones were amazing. And I think the same thing could be said with OKI. I think OKI bought some it was either their broker or their stock had incredible MGP. And I think you saw Blom with a mixture, but they had some of the low rye, which was nice. And then Boone County, that was even more shot in the dark. Some Boone County I had was trash, but there's some Boone County that was great. And now people are grabbing after old Boone Counties on secondary because it's not available. Sure. Because they'll be fine with the bad or the good. They just can't find that profile anymore. I don't know what you're tasting in the Remus 5. Tell me its specs again.
It's a blend of a lot of different bourbons. So it's 9% 2005 bourbon. That's a 16-year-old. 5% 2006. Oh, that's 21 rye, by the way, the 16-year-old. 5% 2006 bourbon at 36% rye. 19% 2006 bourbon, 21% rye. 13% 2008 bourbon, 21% rye. The vast majority of it is 12-year-old bourbon, 54% of that. So 54% of the blend is 12-year-old bourbon at 36% rye.
That sounds like something I want to try. That sounds like something I want to try.
Well, I mean, I can send you more samples. You can send me samples. Bada bing, bada boom. What else do I? Well, I can send you this benchmark single barrel. What else do I have recently that you don't have? The Still Austin cask strength would be interesting. Send you some scotches just to mess with you.
Ugh. Pass.
When I opened that Bellmead cask strength 8-year weeded, oh man, that was good. I hope it's as good as I remember because I really enjoyed that. I'm sort of waiting to dig into this until Matt shows up. If he didn't even say whether or not he has it, but I'd still just enjoy his company. But really interesting nose on this, and there's a note that I remember from childhood that I can't pull yet, but I'll keep working at it.
Talking about stranger danger, look at this guy. There's this guy with a wrench. Tom Lynch is telling people to message him on Instagram. What a stranger danger.
Yeah.
Can we change people's names on here? Can we change people's names?
Change Tom, aka Stranger Danger Lynch. His Instagram handle being TFL Dad. TFL Call Me Daddy. TFL Stranger Danger. You gotta give him some crap. Lots of chat. And it's a full group tonight. While we wait for Matt, and if he doesn't show up, that's fine. I'll taste this in just a second. We'll give him a few more minutes. But squad, thanks for tuning in tonight, members of Neat Nation. Don't forget, if you don't already, you can support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/entryproofpodcast. That's where you can get access to our barrel picks. I got to check in on the Middle West pick. It was supposed to be almost bottled last time we chatted. It's going to happen. It's just the wheels turn slowly. And then the Dancing Goat pick has been confirmed. I'm just waiting to get the final MSRPs. And then, but the plan is that we are pulling a 21 rye MGP bourbon, 8-year, and then we're going to sit on a 7-year rye that is aged, like it's finishing in toasted French oak. We're going to wait on that one. Brian's gone again, and see what happens in the months to come. But you can get access to those barrels via Patreon. That's a good way to do it. You can also super chat if you wanted. That's a pretty rad way to support the channel. It's a little $ there, and we'd be like, hey, thanks for super chatting. And then also, there's some merch options in the links below. You may have noticed I'm wearing a new shirt. You guys think?
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. So this is an experiment I did. So Matt actually does his merch all in secondary fulfillment. So there's a pretty cool website called Teespring where you can, design merch that is made to order. So the price is just a little bit more. We get slightly less of the profit, but then I don't have to sit on 200 shirts, which is a pretty significant investment to go ahead and manufacture. So I do have more shirts coming that I had made. That will go out to Patreon supporters of a certain tier and will also be available on my Etsy store. But if you want to, there's a link down below where you can cop this shirt as well as 2 others that are available on Teespring. And that also supports the channel.
And absolutely, here's one thing. We didn't really do a recap episode yet on the Middle West pick that we did.
Which we will do. We got tons of content.
Which we will do. But I have to say, and I promise you, no pressure, man. We are glad to have you all joining in on the chat. But we do first. We have with our Starlight picks, we did open the link up to people on our Thursday night stream. What was left over after our Patreon members. It seems as if we will not have a lot of bottles of our Middle West pick. It's going to have first priority to our Patreon members. And then Cam from Drums and Drams, who also was with us, we're going to allow the folks for his Patreon to have access to the pick as well. And if there are any left over, we are going to open it up here for Neat Nation. But I'm just saying, it's, again, no pressure to join Patreon. I don't know if there's going to be anything left over for the general public after that. We'll see. If there is, great, and we'll be super stoked. You'll want to be real quick to jump onto that. I also want to make a plug. I don't want to just keep throwing a whole lot of things, but since we're at this ad section of the podcast, if you see this hat right here, this hat represents Stave and Bean. Stave and Bean is a new brand started by John, who is the director of the Single Barrel program down at Peerless. Distillery, which is down the street from me here in Louisville, Kentucky. And he and his friend Corey had started Stave and Bean, which is a barrel aged coffee brand. And they reached out to Quills, and we've been doing stuff back and forth. But after some like consultation with me, both in my role and just as a coffee guy and a whiskey guy, we landed on some profiles and some SKUs, and they just opened their website up on Tuesday, and they started selling in the gift shop this past Saturday. But they just opened the web shop up on Tuesday for all these barrel aged coffees, and they've got a ton. We're talking about cinnamon whiskey barrels. There's Amaro barrels. There's a couple of
that's crazy.
There's a couple of cocktail blends, which are just blends of some of the aged ones, like the rum barrel and the orange curacao and all of this stuff. But it's interesting. The cupping table was fun because while they all have certain flavor similarities because they are barrel aged, there are various origins and various barrels that they're aging things in, and there are some unique qualities to them. So I just give a plug, Stave and Bean. If you were wanting to try out some barrel aged coffee, go ahead and give those guys. I'm not going to ship it to you, but they will. And I think maybe someday I'll be the one who ships it to you guys. Doesn't matter. We're working out some details of how exactly the fulfillment for them will ongoingly last. But it's been a cool project. We've been working on it for months, and I'm glad to finally see it turn out. They did bring me, or they showed me. I went to Peerless last weekend, and they showed me a barrel of. I won't get into it because I don't know if it's private information. They showed me a barrel, had a lot of optimism. I had roasted a sample of a coffee that might go in it. A lot of prospects to it. Excited to see where that goes. So
sweet.
That's it.
It was well pitched. That was well pitched. So yeah, I got to look into that because it's well known that my opinion of barrel aged coffee is low.
Well, you picked up some of the chips, the stave stuff, and did you ever do your experiments?
I did some experiments, yeah, and it was fantastic. So what I did was I brewed the coffee. So I took ground coffee. Mm-hmm. I need to do some coffee content on here as well, coffee whiskey. But I ground the coffee, and then I put barrel char in the coffee, like the filter with the coffee, and then I brewed it, and it was great. It was a little bit bitter, and I'm like, I think I pulled too much out of this wood. So then what I did was I started brewing the coffee. I put the barrel char in at the end with a little bit of water to just basically pull out the whiskey essence without giving me a lot of carbonic notes. It was delicious. Now, what it does when you do that is it turns your brew black. Like coffee's already black, but it's like a reddish brown. Mm-hmm. Now it's just black. Yeah. And so I'm like, I wonder if this is healthy. Now it's all filtered, but I don't know what's in that. What I'm pulling out of that wood in that. So like, I don't know that, like I thought about like, this tastes fantastic. I was 10 out of 10 would recommend for sure. And so I'll probably do an episode like, hey, you might try this, but I have no idea. So don't hold me liable for the health thing. It's just delicious. It's probably not any worse for you than drinking whiskey, which is pulling the same crap out of the wood. So yeah, I will almost guarantee it's probably not worse for you than whiskey, which is generally not good for you, but we kind of just ignore that on this channel here. So,
right.
But yeah, I really enjoyed that and may play with it in the future. But that's a completely different process than aging unroasted beans, which then absorb the whiskey, which you then roast. Like it's just completely different method of trying to infuse your product with distilled spirit essence. All right. I have one more sip of this Remus, and then we'll kind of break it down here.
I'm not gonna lie, the last whiskey I was tasting were those Peerless samples, and I just went to the Remus Batch 1, and it is a welcomed respite from that kind of younger juice. Not too bad on the palate. Little light, but the flavors are nice.
Yeah, so this is a journey. There's a lot going on here on the highs and lows. Now, the lows aren't bad, so this is really good. It certainly tastes like a well-aged whiskey. Parts of it taste refined, and parts of it, maybe that 16 year that they added in, were probably just like hella oaky. Like they probably have this barrel and they're like, this is an old barrel. It's not very good anymore, but we can say that we put 16-year-old whiskey in it. And granted, I've had some really good, well-aged whiskeys, but there's a dynamic here where it doesn't feel like all the whiskeys that were put in here are playing really well together. It doesn't taste really, really well blended, but it still tastes really good. So on the nose, again, dynamics. There's this funky candy that's like, it's like cotton candy Laffy Taffy, like the light blue Laffy Taffy. So interesting, kind of bizarre sweetness, kind of fruity, like this artificial blueberry. A lot of oak, kind of spicy, nutty oak, a la a Knob Creek pick. You know, like I had one 15-year-old Knob Creek pick. Wasn't amazing, but was kind of cedary. It was so intense in the woodiness. It's a little bit earthy, but so we get this interesting dynamic between this very candy sweetness with some fruit, and then a lot of spicy, oaky, kind of earthy, a little bit of like wet bark. Then on the palate, when it hits your tongue, it feels oily. It feels crazy viscous. Really nice and sweet. Very caramely. Apple-y, but not like green apples, kind of like dried apples. You get this like floral kind of apple experience. Then it morphs into oak, but it's not buttercreamy. It's not very, very sweet oak. Oh, jeepers. Well, I'm going to have to change my camera battery. Anyway, not sweet oak, dry, kind of a dry oak sensation. So initially it's slippery and sweet and viscous, apple and floral to dried oak. And then it leaves your mouth pretty dry. And that's why I think that probably they dropped some super old whiskey in here. That was just an oak bomb. Like it was only oak, but they're like, hey, we can use this as a foundation. And they just couldn't blend out that drying sensation. So all in all, on the Drew scale, which there is no standard Drew scale, but we're going to call it an 8 out of 10. Really solid value. And it's great until the finish. And then I'm not a huge fan of the finish right now. Granted, this is my second pour. I haven't had a lot. I enjoy it a great deal. I don't have batch 4 open. I would take this over batch 3, which I liked. So I've been a fan of batches 3, 4, and 5. I would go buy any of them if you see them. I think they're worth the money relative to some of the other competition out there. But that's a general tasting breakdown of Remus Batch 5. That's my thought. Kyle Ramage says, sign me up. Cotton candy oak, I'm there. Well, yeah, it's kind of like that. Mm-hmm. All right. Brian, why don't you tell the fine people what you're tasting? And I'd love to hear you break that down for us while I change my camera battery.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually am a glutton for punishment, so I am pouring out some limestone branch red wheat bourbon whiskey.
That sounds terrible.
This is a 60% white corn, 28% wheat, 12% malted barley. It's a char level 3. It's 98 proof. It was aged for 30 months.
That's nothing.
So
that sounds bad.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had this in a couple of weeks, but it was terrible when I had it before. So, so let's go ahead and dive. Let's go ahead and dive into this for you guys, though. On the nose is any of you guys ever have young whiskeys like under 3 years old? Do a sound off if you guys have ever drank any of these like super young whiskeys, and if you've had any that you've enjoyed, let me know.
Brian, I do get just a suggestion of youth on that Still Austin cask strength. It's a 2-year-old whiskey, but you wouldn't no one ever told you it was 2 years, you would never peg it at that. You would peg it in the 5-6 year range.
I'm gonna have to chase this down with some honey. The nose on this is like it's kettle corn. It's as if you guys ever this is gonna sound terrible. Drew sometimes I think gets on me because my notes sound mean, and I don't mean to be mean. Some of them are bad, yes. I don't mean to be mean. I just mean to be specific. Specific. Have you ever caught hair on fire before?
Oh, dude, it smells awful. It's
So
awful.
this smells like kettle corn, which is slightly sweet, but light popcorn, burnt hair, and malt grain. It's there's not a lot that's super inviting to it. I'm so sorry if there's someone from Limestone Branch here. I appreciate what you do for the whiskey industry. If there's someone from Liquor Barn in the channel, you picked this. Congrats on that opportunity.
Hope you enjoyed it.
I hope you guys had a great bonding time. Bourbon's meant to be shared. Your bottles are meant to be open. There are some people who put bottles on a shelf, and there's some bottles that no one will ever want to open. This falls into the latter category of that. So there is I'm gonna go ahead and taste it now.
Godspeed. Oh my gosh. So there was
I will say the palate is not as the nose isn't bad. It smells young and it has elements of the things I mentioned. The palate, the worst thing about the palate is you get kind of cotton mouth towards the end. The initial blast of flavor is fine, but it's like brown sugar met with White Dog. If you've ever tried White Dog on a tour, you're like, wow, that's got promise. It tells me what the whiskey will taste like in 4 years. This glass just says like you got a little bit of some sweetness from aging for 30 months, but you need another 18 or like 18 plus 10 years. So it's
I guess what is your assessment?
What happens?
Do you think
it's
it's
cloying? It's both slightly. Hey, what's up, man? Dude, when did you get the neon?
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
As a shelf turd sent it to me, they're like, "Hey, here's this guy named Rick Rose made it. Sweet,
wow.
Huh?
Love it.
It's like wooden, and then it's like
I'm turning the brightness up on my screen. You could probably see it in my glasses, just so I can see this gorgeous sign.
Yeah, it's not neon; it's actually LEDs inside of like a wooden case.
I'm about it.
So, Brian, was that last drink you had? Was that heirloom grain?
What?
I like it. I like that.
My present drink. What is it?
It's a heirloom. It's a heirloom grain. It's a
heirloom. It's a heirloom weeded variety of 30 months of pure pain and agony. It's what it seems like.
Sometimes you just have to set hair on fire to realize that maybe today's not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's toasted oats. It's like Cheerios and fire and brown sugar and strangulation all in one.
So let's go back. So that sounds like a bummer, Brian, and I'm sorry you subjected yourself to that, but you chose to taste.
To be fair, it has a youthful peachiness that I don't mind. It's not as bad as the first time I visited. The first time I visited, I honestly thought someone was giving me arsenic.
Yeah, so the worst, this would be a fun little chat topic here, and we'll bring Matt into it. And my background does not match this at all, but what's the worst? We should do a whole show on this at some point, but we have 76 people in the chat. Those who've hung in with us, great. It's only getting better from here, obviously. This may be the latest live stream we've ever done. But what's the worst whiskey you've ever had? And then we're going to come back to Remus. I see you're holding birthday bourbon.
No. Yeah. Yes and no.
Oh.
Erica. It's
Which year was that? It's red. It's 18.
No, this was a 2012, but it's empty.
Dang,
No. This used to have birth. Now it just has a blend in it. I was working on a blend for Mash and Drums Blend Again, I had an empty receptacle, a vessel here, and now it's what I picked the worst pouring one though, because it's really hard not to spill. You got to turn it upside down.
That's dangerous. That's not great.
I wish it was still birthday bourbon, but it's not. Oh, and this is not the worst bourbon I've ever had. The birthday bourbon, no. To answer your question,
I figured I was gonna guess that. I figured that was a safe guess. But yes, that's the topic we're shifting to, impromptu. So Matt, what is the worst whiskey you ever had?
This is hard because when you're talking about the worst whiskey you ever had, people have feelings, right? So it's like you're actually telling somebody that their work is bad.
It's
So
it's kind of it can feel not great.
So tonight, who would you like to tell their work is bad?
Well, I already told them in a review, so it's okay.
Okay, good.
This was like a year and a half ago, maybe, and I said in the video, this is when I was driving a bus. I said, if I got into an accident with the bus, I'd be in trouble. If I got into a couple, I'd be fired. But their whiskey was like a 40-car pileup. It was bad. Wayland Ranch. Have you heard of Wayland Ranch?
Mm-mm.
I gotta Google this.
It comes in a bottle shaped like the Elijah Craig grenade.
How do you spell
And it's like a tiny little farm distillery in Kentucky, and they make it with oats instead of rye, and it tastes real bad. Like I can't even. I want another bottle just to have it to remind myself. Not good. It's Wayland Ranch barrel-proof whiskey.
I can't even tell what you're saying.
It's one of those weird things about the human psyche, right? You every time you taste something bad, you want to make sure you have some of it so you can see if other people appreciate the badness.
I mean, Dickel Tabasco is bad, but that's different. These people actually, they said that they learned to make whiskey from their father and their grandfather. And I was like, why didn't they teach you how to make it good? Yeah. That would have been a real good first lesson.
Yeah. A heritage in whiskey isn't necessarily a good thing. So the worst whiskey I ever had, and I mean, like, there's probably like that whitetail or like some shooter of 80 proof garbage. I'm not counting stuff that's like supposed to be bad, something like something that somebody said this is good, and that's a Bower Hill single barrel.
Those from the big square things.
Yeah. And so like the MSRP on that sucker is like $80 or $90. They're still available at the store down the road. I was given a sample, and my word, I'm sure I have it somewhere because I've just kept. Like I've got like 150 sample vials. I was going to create a infinity bottle. It's probably not very good, but my goodness, it was rough. I
have a theory, Drew.
Go for it.
You never trust a whiskey that has Hill in the name, like Hill Rock, Bower Hill, for example, because there's always a downside. Like it's never like peak or like summit. It's like it's a hill.
Sure.
So what goes up must come down.
Yeah,
it's bad. It's going to be bad. And half of it's got to be bad.
That's right.
This is a general rule. It's the Hill theorem. We're going to call it the Hill theorem related to bourbon. So, which we'll give you credit for. People write about it in history and science books, probably mathematics. I mean, we're just touching industries here tonight. That's what we're getting into. Okay, let's. That was a quick touch in. I'm sure we'll come back at some point future to worst whiskeys we've ever had. It would make a pretty, I think, viral video. But we're not going to do it all tonight. Matt, have you had Remus Batch 5 yet?
No, I have not.
Okay. Well.
No. I haven't seen it in the store, and they actually emailed me today, and they were like, you should have received some samples, and I'm like, sure didn't. So there's that.
You mailed them to the wrong place.
They just never sent them.
So I broke it down right before you came on, my opinion of it, and we'll see how my opinion evolves as I work through the bottle. But it tastes old, but it doesn't taste well blended. That was my conclusion. Is that it tastes like the oak is disjointed from the very viscous and slippery sweetness, which I enjoy. I like the candy sweetness up in here, and caramely, slippery, like unique tongue sensations, creamy mouthfeel, one might say. But then it is just dry oak after that.
Right.
The finish is like it's a little charcoaly on the finish. It's
Is
not like full mouth sensation like the Michter's, I think it was 2018 toasted barrel bourbon. To me was like a full mouth drying, like licking a Furby kind of tactile, and not like that, but more just like drying oak on the finish.
Matt, quick question for you. Go on.
I was gonna say that a lot of the blends now, like Bardstown Bourbon Company has a lot of stuff that they're blending. Barrel has tons of stuff they're blending. But then when you start realizing that people are blending different things together, or they're just not, I don't know. So it's not like a cohesive batch, like a Jack Daniel's No. 7 that they're really got this thing down pat. But smaller batches or people who are newer to blending, there's like a spikiness, like a sharpness. It's like it just rides your palate like this, and it's like
a hill maybe.
This is more like the type of triangle that's like that, but it's just sharp in the middle. The oak sticks out. It's not well rounded. It's not like this. Like the good blends, the ones that I can really look at and be like, that's friggin' delicious. There's no sharpness to them. It's just they're creamy. They're, for lack of a better word, smooth. They're not sharp at all. They don't have like a weird barrel bitterness to them, or even like an ethanol blend bitterness, I like to call it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. I think it must be really hard to do because the really good blends stand out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this one's close. I think it's just missing a little bit, and I think it's I think the really old stuff they put in was actually just too oaky, which who knows. I may change that opinion after I let it sit for a while. I did give it a stamp of approval. I think at the $80 I paid for it, I'd probably get another one because I really enjoy it. It's just, I've also got Wild Turkey Decades open, which to me is a really good blend. It's a blend versus a blend.
Right.
We'll use that now. I'm going to write that down. It's pretty consistent. We'll give you full credit every time we use it, Matt. So blend versus blend. Yeah, I feel like this was close to being a blend, but they pushed too hard on the age. Like, let's get that 16-year-old in there, and then they went full blend.
Mm-hmm. So the Discovery 5,
which I've not had, but Brian had it, so we can talk about it.
My wife hates it when I say this because she's like, "No, you weren't." But I was a part of the blending team for it. Like, they sent me all of the samples to work with and to put my own submit my own blend for Discovery 5.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening was their inventory was off a little bit. So all the blends that were submitted couldn't be used because they didn't have the correct amount of whiskey on hand, like what they thought they had.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I don't really care. It was fun to do. But that 17-year-old Tennessee whiskey was really hard to blend out that oakiness, like that flavor profile. Not even really like the minerality, but it had a really strong, weird oak to it. And just the smallest amount of it was like, it just so apparent. It just showed up so much that I think some stuff is just really hard to work with. And that was probably why some people aren't a huge fan of it. But
it couldn't have been that difficult to work with that they didn't want to put it in batch 6 at a pretty high percentage too. It's like 17 or 37% or something like that. It's something. It's an amount. It's an amount.
But they also are using other whiskeys that they didn't have available then. Yeah. So you never know. Once you start putting MGP in with it or something, it might have came out better.
It's the same though, right? It was it 17 years in Disco 5 and 17 year in Disco 6?
Yeah.
The both 17 year.
I believe so. Yeah.
It may be
Yeah, I thought
tanked.
Disco 5 was fine. I thought it was fine, but it was hard to get through.
I like
The
it. I think the
flavor
nose
that-
is tremendous. It's good. It's just not my favorite of that series. But since it's different whiskeys, it's hard to really fairly compare them, right? That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, I'm super excited to taste it again with some of that Indiana in there. Did you have other? I forget if you had other Sam Houston 15s aside from the one that you got. No,
Just the one. That's all I've had.
Okay. Drew was talking about that earlier about passing up on that.
Yeah,
and,
I passed on one.
And I had mentioned that the Sam Houston that I've
infinite
been
money.
able to try, the Sam Houston I've been able to try locally was a little lackluster. In the Calumet though was. I could try and check. It's at the bar at down the street from me, but I don't know much about it. I just remember trying it there and thinking, kind of a stinker. But couple weeks ago we did a blind and the Calumet 15 was in there, and I was a fan. I was a fan of that profile.
Yeah, it's weird. They're only using a few barrels for those. So
yeah, it's pretty small.
Obviously, flavor profiles are going to differ quite a bit. So it's really hard to recommend something when you know that the majority of people out there are going to be tasting something different than what you have. So that's what makes that really difficult to be like, go buy it, go spend $130.
Yeah. Matt, earlier we were talking about the benchmark semi-limited releases, the single barrel, the full proof. I think they did a top floor one.
Mm-hmm.
But I had my first encounter with those in the last week. You have any of those?
No. I actually I've never even seen them on a shelf anywhere.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see them. I kind of thought they came and they went, but I was in Terre Haute, Indiana, and they were around there. So maybe they got a big allocation and people are like, what is this? But single barrel was nice. I enjoyed it.
Huh.
The full proof was rough. It was kind of funky, nutty, grainy Buffalo Trace, which I'd never experienced. But the single barrel it tastes like a solid Buffalo Trace store pick, basically. So the price is right on those too. But,
man, have you ever looked at yourself on the computer and just hated your face? I feel like I need a haircut, but I am not liking. Maybe it's the black shirt with the background. It's like a floating head. Gigantic, ugly floating head.
Well, you're being harsh on yourself, man. And to be fair, we didn't give you time to do makeup.
Actually, I came down here and I was just about to click the link, and then I had to go fix something in the kids' room. It's a process. The kids, they don't want to sleep. All they want to do is party.
Yeah. So last night, we're trying to get the 6-month-old to sleep on her own, more or less. And last night, she's in her bassinet in our bedroom, and my wife has turned up her sound machine to like 1 billion decibels because apparently that's helpful for the baby. And I am trying to sleep, and I need quiet. And so I'm like, I can't do this. I'm going to sleep on the couch. So I'm trying to sleep on the couch, and then the 4-year-old wakes up at 1 o'clock and won't go back to bed. So she's up till 2:30. Like this, it's just I don't even know why I try and sleep anymore. Like the kids do what they do, and the minute you think you have one of them down, the other one goes off, and it's just is what it is. I mean, of course, you don't hold it against them; they're kids, but people
I hold it against them.
Kids being a blessing, which they are, but they're also kind of the worst. I mean, they're the worst blessing. They're fantastic, and I would trade them for nothing. And at the same time be like, why do I have kids? So yeah, again, super thankful for my kids. Love the snot out of my kids, but kids are hard. So anytime anybody gets married, I'm like, wait to have kids. Like you'll get to it. It'll be great when they come, but just savor, savor your youth. Like go frolic in fields and travel and stuff while you can. Like
Drew hates children. All right.
The moral of the story today is Drew's afraid of going to jail. You may have missed that earlier, but that was a fun conversation. And
who isn't afraid of going to jail?
Well, I don't know. Some people don't seem to be too worried about it. That's what I gather by people's behavior. I am petrified. I am petrified that one day I'll get arrested for something I had no idea I did, and I'll spend years in prison. So that
It's like a
makes
paralyzing fear, man.
I have quite a few of those.
Yeah, update, but real quick on the game is 28-19 Buccaneers. So,
Well, I did pick the Buccaneers in my family pool. As much as I would generally pull for the Cowboys, I did not actually think they would win.
Do you think you'd do good in jail?
No, I would
Me
be.
either.
There is a euphemism that I don't endorse, that I would consider to be probably inappropriate, but I would be that euphemism to many people.
Yeah, I think there'd be many fights over just. I mean, do I think that I am? I feel like saying this makes me seem a little bit like what's the word? Stuck up or like shoot. There's a truck running outside, and my attention span is just like shut the truck off. But I think people would fight over me to be that euphemism. They'd be like, you know what? No, he's mine. And I'd be like, listen, guys, don't fight.
There's plenty of me to go around.
He's so bad.
Yeah,
I do a lot of crying.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm with you. Prison doesn't seem like a fun place. I'm sure anybody in the chat has anybody in the chat been to prison? Care to share?
Everybody's hand goes up.
Yeah, I've been there. It's like that episode of The Office where that guy had been to prison. And he was like, "It was actually kind of nice. I got my degree. We'd go out. We'd have outside time throughout the day. Watch TV."
That is not what it's like.
The worst thing about prison was the Dementors.
Oh.
Yeah, Prison Mike is one of Michael Scott's best moments. Big fan of Prison Mike and The Office in general.
It's a shame that it's over. They should force them to continue to make that show.
Yeah, what did you think? Because tonight has no theme. I mean, the theme is bourbon bullcrap, and we've done a sufficient job. So you're welcome, nation. We've kept our promise. What did you think of seasons? What is it, 7 through 9 or 8 and 9 without Michael Scott? Like, what is your general perception of those? I have an opinion. I'll hold it until I hear yours.
At first, I was sad. I was like, this is BS. Like, this is BS. Like, kidnap Steve Carell.
Bring him back. Yeah.
Like, make him do this. But I also feel like Dwight, Dwight kind of like took a step forward. And he was better. But then they used the people that they brought in kind of helped
James Spader,
like soften the blow a little bit. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. James Spader was completely different, but so crazy. Really enjoyed that character. I didn't like him at all, but I enjoyed him. Just so crazy and far out. It did certainly help fill the void.
Was Will Ferrell in one of the seasons, or am I imagining that?
He was in a few episodes because he initially replaced Michael Scott, D'Angelo Vickers, and I loved him. Mm-hmm. People hate him in that. I don't know why. I loved those episodes. Like, they could have done 2 seasons of Will Ferrell, and I would have been there for it. I thought his character was very entertaining.
I think the best replacement they could have made, who I'm sure that he wouldn't. I don't know. But Kevin James would have been a great replacement for Steve Carell.
Huh.
I just feel like he could play that sort of like the new boss guy who's just not. I don't know. I love Kevin James though.
Yeah. I honestly, I haven't seen much with Kevin James. I never saw Mall Cop. I never watched King of Queens.
Okay, King of Queens is my jam.
Oh, okay. He was fantastic in Hitch. Like, Hitch is a classic. It's an all-timer, and loved him in that. But other than that, I saw one movie that he was in. Was he in a movie about a zoo? Not the Matt Damon movie, not We Bought a Zoo, but I
think it was called The Zoo.
Or Zookeeper or something.
Zookeeper, that's right.
Yeah, right. I saw that, and it was boring.
No,
it wasn't a good movie.
I love Kevin James, but Kevin James in movies sucks. Kevin James on TV,
totally different.
Great.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
I mean,
Was,
Steve Carell kind of has that. There's not a lot of great, well, I take that back. There are better Steve Carell movies probably than Kevin James in general.
Ricky Gervais was in the U.S. episodes around that time too, right? Or was it
touched.
earlier?
No,
in the
he had a
series,
cameo. He had a cameo in the U.S. series in like Michael Scott's last season, where he shows up when Michael Scott gets off an elevator or something, and they meet and they pass, and that's that.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait,
Man,
so you said you were going to save your thoughts for the end. What were you going to say about it? Or did you already say it and I ignored it?
I'm actually, I don't like it as much, but I'm a fan. Like some people are like, you should have ended it. I think that there are enough redeeming qualities in the last 3 seasons that I enjoyed it. Of course it's different, and there are characters that are annoying. Not a big fan of Nellie, and then Andy gets really annoying in those seasons, but you're meant to hate him, so you kind of need somebody to hate.
Ring-a-ding-a-doo.
Yeah, right.
Freaking Nard Dog. I love Nard Dog. Don't talk smack about Nard Dog.
I thought he was fantastic until he lost his mind. Like, especially the season where he gets on the boat. Like when he goes on the boat with his does he go with his brother, or who does he go with? Anyway, I love that his brother's Josh Groban. That's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Josh Groban's role is pretty fantastic. I was in the car the other day, and I have certain songs on my phone. I have no idea why I have. Like, I'm pretty sure I never downloaded these.
Yeah,
but
that happens to everybody.
When You Say You Love Me by Josh Groban came on, and I was just like listening to that. And
when you say you love me.
Yeah, that's quite a bit higher than even he sings it. But I was like, that's an interesting song.
That's a different song.
And Brian had it.
It's the same one.
When you say you love me, the
We're all in
world
different
goes
keys.
still, so still inside. Yeah. Anyway, I won't sing super loud because the kids are in bed. Anyway, bottom line is, I was thinking about the lyrics of that song, and Josh Groban is heterosexual, so he's singing, I assume, to a woman, and so he's assuming that the woman's saying she loves him, which in movies almost never happens. First stereotype, not that that shouldn't happen, but generally speaking, we're dealing in generalities here. And then he talks about his reaction to that, and the whole point is to eventually tell her at the end of the song that, oh, by the way, I love you too. And it's just a bizarre scenario. I've never once seen in reality or in Hollywood things play out with that kind of dynamic. So either he's a genius, or somebody was writing a song to appeal to a certain demographic.
I mean, he wasn't the writers on the song, so let's get that straight.
Yeah,
so.
right. He's a vocalist. He's not a singer-songwriter. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I was.
Thanks, Mark Hammond, for the song.
The song was stuck in my head for like 3 days. Probably still stuck in my head. That's why I brought it up. That's why he came to me when I thought about The Office. But then I was thinking about the lyrics, and I was like, these are just kind of bizarre. These are unusual lyrics.
How bizarre.
Da 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 da.
It's just a good song too.
I don't know that one. Who's that by? How bizarre?
Shaggy or something like that, wasn't it? Who was that by? OMC or I think it was OMC.
And
back in the day.
And he's
oh
gone.
no,
he's had enough of my ignorance. I can tell you all about
How bizarre.
Angsty emo bands. I'm actually going to see Amberlin on Monday at the House of Blues in Chicago.
It's cute.
So
it's cute.
I'm jacked for that. Yeah. I mean, it's not like I'm going to see. It's not coming to me right now. Panic at the Disco. So Amberlin, I'd say, is a step above Panic in terms of maturity, but I also enjoy Panic at the Disco. So I'm not going to throw shade or show shame. Also, Panic at the Disco's more recent stuff, especially the Frozen song that they covered, Into the Unknown.
Oh, stop.
Oh, let's go.
That's a jam.
It's a jam. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, their rendition is
Into the Unknown. Let's see how I hit that note.
Somebody is not a fan of the music chat because we have now gotten a thumbs down.
Nice.
It's talking about music.
They can suck it. I don't care.
That's because
this is bourbon bullcrap tonight.
How bizarre.
Yeah, you didn't like it, so thumbs down. You know what? I'm sorry. I'll take the thumbs down away. Just kidding.
I get a lot. I've realized this. I get a decent amount of thumbs down. It's not for everybody, and that's
Everybody
fine.
does. Yeah, I'm surprised the majority of mine aren't thumbs down. It's very surprising.
I was surprised that anybody wouldn't just laugh at your dynamics, Matt. I always
People, a lot of new viewers don't get it.
Mm.
They're just like, why is this?
Oh, there's
this?
two now. There's two now. There's three now. People are
Somebody's
changing
just
their
messing
votes
with
to
us.
downs.
Yeah, it's probably Tom and Eric. It's probably our biggest fans are just messing with us now.
And now it's two. Now it's three. It's changing. How does this work?
Or it's Matt.
If you
He's
like
just doing it.
If you like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, switch it back to a thumbs up. If
Which
you like peanut butter
I
and honey sandwiches instead, switch it back to a thumbs up.
Let's get anarchist and let's go peanut butter and honey and jelly.
Yeah, I make those pretty much every night. Let's give that a double thumbs up.
Oh, here's also another banger: peanut butter and marshmallow fluff.
That's fluffernutters, dude.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you know, I actually didn't know the sexy name. It's fantastic, and everybody should have one. It's a dessert sandwich.
Yeah, I've been curious why people
all times of day and say it's lunch.
I've been curious when we're going to start seeing fluffernutter conditioned whiskeys, and so far I've not seen any.
I'm here for that. Yeah,
conditioned on peanut butter and marshmallow fluff. Starting to sound like a sour, like a Berliner Weiss sour from one of those hipster breweries.
Well, I mean, whiskey may follow. Where beer goes, whiskey may follow.
Let's go.
All right, that was fun.
That was a good exhale.
Yeah, I forget to breathe. So like when I'm at work, I tend to like get hyper focused in what I'm doing, almost like neurotic from the thing to thing, and I'll forget to take breaks. And I'll get home at the end of the day just exhausted. I'm like, I think I forgot to breathe.
I don't forget to breathe. Just my lungs can't keep up with my obesity. It's not good.
That's a great T-shirt. My lungs can't keep up. I would say my liver can't keep up with my bourbon habit.
Oh, so I had some blood work done the other day. Doctor's like, she's like, your kidney function is really good. Your liver function is really good. I was like, heck yeah.
Yeah, let's
and
go.
She's like, your cholesterols look really good. I go, that's surprising, isn't it? She says, yep.
So here's the thing. My wife and I have been talking about this at length. And that is that our culture puts a heavy emphasis on weight versus normal body function. And so like you can be, from what I understand, per the science, very healthy individual. Like in that, what you just said, Matt, your liver functions well, your kidneys function well, your heart can even function well, normal heart rate, etc. You're sleeping well, and yet you might be overweight in terms of what our culture defines as overweight. But our culture brings certain perspectives on weight that aren't necessarily tied to just simply normal body function. But as you look cross-culturally, there are different weight characteristics that fall within normal body function. But we put such an emphasis on the aesthetics in our culture and such like a desire to be either totally ripped as a man or totally rail skinny as a woman. And if you don't fit that, even the doctors are conditioned to like direct you in that path, even though you may be metabolically very healthy at a variety of weights. So I'm not generally one to be skeptical of doctors, but it does kind of hold true. Is you might go to the doctor and they'd be like, well, you're pretty healthy. Everything seems great. Like all your tests came back great, but you could lose a few pounds. And like, well, why? You just told me I was fine. And I was like, well, because that's kind of what we're supposed to do, I guess. And I think it's just overblown.
So Drew hates fat people too. That's all I got from that.
Basically what he said.
I think you misheard me.
No.
Pretty sure.
All I heard was you say, I think you could lose a few pounds. That's all I heard.
I was saying that's what doctors say without basis. based on
I like to
cultural
backtrack
conditions.
too sometimes.
That's fine. All right. Well, I guess my pushing against the grain, trying to be uplifting and actually deal with it, what I believe is a societal problem in how we approach weight backfired. Wouldn't be the first time something I said. So, Drew, what you're saying?
To agree. I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't mention the bad stuff. Blood pressure, basically uncontrollable, no big deal. And took a sleep apnea test. Results pending. We'll talk about that when she comes back.
Yeah.
But all signs point towards CPAPs for Porter.
Yeah. My dad is on a CPAP, and I'm worried about getting a sleep test because I am worried about having to wear CPAP. That said, it may change my life because if you have sleep apnea and then you get a CPAP, apparently I hear you feel just way better because you sleep way better with that.
Although there's a way that I could feel better than I do now, which is generally hellacious. I need to figure out a solution.
Hellacious in a good way or bad way?
Matt, I feel like I never close my eyes, and I never drink water, and I rarely eat, and all I do is drink high noon sun sips. So, yeah.
High Noon Sun Sips, the official, non-official sponsor of our show tonight. And Brian is much better at advocating for their qualities than I am.
I would like to feel again.
Taste great. So
I would like to feel again. And there's no better way to feel than cracking open a High Noon Sun Sips, the 100-calorie, gluten-free, no added sugar vodka and soda drink of the season.
Real quick, I would
High Noon Sun Sips.
Yeah, I would just say that if all of us want to feel better, there are probably better things we could do than stay up late on a Thursday night crushing whiskeys. That said, I mean, life's not all about sleep, right? Am I right? A couple questions that would be fun. Let's get back.
I mean, you only have one life, Drew. Why?
I do believe in that. I do believe in trying to make the most of it, which might mean like dragging it out a little bit. But I also believe in enjoying life. Big fan of pursuing things that spark joy, for sure. I don't know that I can say this person's name in good conscience. Cuts, dude. Oh, is that good? Oh, yeah, he's probably a barber. Nice. Okay, good. Yep, I'm seeing it differently now. I was reading it.
Do you think he was a murderer?
No, I honestly didn't know, but you never know. I was going to look it up in Urban Dictionary later. Blue Run Rye. Brian, you did a video, am I right, on Blue Run Rye?
Yep.
And why don't you just recap for us your thoughts on that whiskey?
Yeah, I mean, it's 95 proof and it's non-age stated. I think those are the two biggest marks against it for the price that it is. Off the bat, it is very difficult with all the whiskey out there for me to say, yeah, you should spend $100 on a non-age stated rye below 100 proof. Very difficult to say.
Sure.
That out of the way. The nose was nice. I think I remembered saying that it reminded me of the Middle West Spirits pick that you and I did coming out soon. In some ways, it had some of this graham cracker sweetness, a little floral. The palate I thought was nice. It was juicy, but there are a lot of things that I've had this year that have had that kind of juicy sweetness. The Nashville Barrel Company small batch being one of them, even though it's it's also a rye. The biggest takeaway for me from it is that it was unlike other pours. It didn't quite fit in the Elijah Craig or Pikesville section. It didn't quite fit like Nashville Barrel Company. It kind of had its own slight bit of flavor to it, but it was more bourbon-like than it was rye-like. So to me, it's a gateway bourbon or a gateway rye for people who typically like bourbon. The problem is with it being over $100, that's not a gateway price.
Sure. Yeah.
So
not even close.
Flavor was solid. Would love to actually like have a bottle to sit down with. But I personally probably won't be grabbing one myself.
That's probably fair. Yeah, I'm with you. 95 unage stated, $100. Not likely. Not that age is everything. Definitely not in that camp. That said, you got to deliver at $100.
Yeah.
To make it.
Did you get to try that, Matt? I imagine they sent you some.
The Blue Run?
Yeah.
Blue Run Rye.
No. Have yet to try any Blue Run products actually.
Somebody asked a question earlier, which is a great question. And if any of you guys have to drop off at any point, please feel free to do so. No pressure. But what's your favorite? Some of your favorite whiskeys this year? So what's your favorite whiskey of the year? So let's try and keep it to 2021 releases. But has anything kind of been like, oh, well, that was pretty dang good? And of course, Brian, you've talked up that Elijah Craig 13-year Justin's House of Bourbon 94 proof pick. You've talked up Russell's 13, which I also, when I had a pour, which I've got the bottle now, which is great. But when I had the pour, really enjoyed that. That one's a hard one to beat for sure. But what else?
Yeah.
What else has stood out to you guys? Nothing.
2021 sucked for me. I haven't really. The Sam Houston 15 has been the Kentucky batch 1 has been notably better than anything else I've tried. The Old Carter Bourbon Batch 8 is really good. It's very different though. I don't think it. Some people are going to love it. Other people are not going to like it. It's different, but it's really good. But there's been a lot of releases this year that I haven't been able to taste yet or try or get my hands on. So I don't know. I've heard a lot of good things about the Blue Run stuff. I think some fork. I don't even know. It's been weird. Like I wasn't overly impressed with the Stag Junior this year, the 15.
Oh, really?
Both of the Elijah Craigs.
We were talking about that earlier.
Both the Elijah Craigs I thought were good. Of course, they're buys, but they didn't like blow me away. Like
Sure.
nothing that I've been able to obtain so far, other than the Sam Houston, has been lights out. Like really, really good. Maybe I'm just getting very spoiled.
That is for sure.
I mean, yeah, that definitely seems to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
like even the things that I buy and the things I don't buy are because I've been spoiled. Like because I've been able to try really great whiskeys, and I know what for me are really great whiskeys and the ones that I enjoy the most. And so my appreciation for good whiskeys, even at maybe more attainable price points, has been diminished. That's not necessarily a good thing. Like there's definitely ignorance is bliss sort of approach when it comes to whiskey, in that, when I would just crush Elijah Craig 94 standard, which I still think is really good. There was a day where I'm just like, man, this is so good. Whereas today, C920 is what I would go to and be like, this is so good. Or,
Right.
the Pirate Bottle 138.8 I have or whatever, that is like, yeah. So I mean, it's like your perception of what is so good changes. But if you could just rewind that clock a little bit and go back to a simpler time, you'd probably have a lot more money. It wouldn't be so bad, because there is a lot of really good whiskey. And what I'm kind of doubled down on is the whiskeys that are still just on the shelf, not necessarily a this year release, but the ones I've fallen in love with this year. Russell's Reserve single barrel, just everyday stuff. The store picks are fantastic, but everyday Russell's Reserve single barrel and rare breed, that's been a 2021 love affair for me. And so again, not necessarily this year releases, but whiskeys that you can still go get on the shelf that I'm definitely here for.
Right. Well, with that being said, okay, this guy right here, the Rebel 10, I freaking love this stuff.
I need another
love
bottle
Rebel
of
10,
that.
yeah.
I'm with you. Big fan.
And I guess this is the 2021 release because it's Rebel 10 instead of,
Rebel Yell. Yeah.
Rebel Yell.
Because
I feel like they took the wrong word away. Am I wrong here?
Probably. I think they're just trying to remove the association with the South and the Civil War. Oh, it's just general rebels, I guess. Like, not necessarily. But I mean, it's a Kentucky in the South, yeah, I mean, so I'm personally, like, of course, I'm not a Confederate flag guy. I would recommend against probably waving the Confederate flag.
Generally.
Yeah, I'm probably what some would call progressive, though I would consider myself very moderate. Like growing up in Texas, I'd probably be considered progressive, where I would consider myself not really progressive, pretty moderate. That said, I'm very opposed to a culture that's just woke about everything. Like, you know, it's just called Rebel Yell, you know, and there's the Billy Idol Rebel Yell song, which is very fun and entertaining, which was apparently inspired by the whiskey. Was Billy Idol, right? Am I getting that right? Yeah, that one. Yeah. Okay, good. Good. So I got a reference right, guys.
Yeah.
So I get credit there. I should get points for that. Anyway, so that said, like some things are just things and you don't need to make a big deal about it. Like I don't think they're insinuating that we should go back to a time of colonial slavery by calling the bourbon Rebel Yell. That said, would I start a brand and call it Rebel Yell? Probably not.
Honestly, it's literally the worst branded bottle ever. It's okay. Listen to this. The end result is an extra smooth sipping whiskey that honors the rebel in all of us. Stop. Just stop.
Just dial it down a notch.
It's like release your inner rebel. Like, how about we just like?
Well, it's not even an aggressive profile. Like, it's a pretty chill, sweet, you know, soft. You know, it's not Booker's. Like Booker's maybe like that may be a brand approach that would match the profile of Booker's more than, you know, a 10-year 100 proof wheated product.
Okay, you know what? This would sell. It sells easily already, but their entire brand would probably sell more if it said Rebellion in cursive letters. People would be like, "Ooh, it's a rebellion," instead of rebel. It sounds like Red Bull, and I don't know. It's just.
And if they ever decided to get out of the whiskey business and just do red wine, they could keep the name the same. Because you know you'd buy a red wine called Rebellion also.
I don't know. Just bad branding in my honest opinion. But as long as it keeps it on the shelf for me, that's fine.
Well, yeah, they've had that brand now for a while. When did either of you guys know when Rebel Yell, that brand, got going? I mean, it's always been a Lux Row thing, right? I don't think they inherited that from anybody.
Part of me thinks you're wrong.
I thought it was older. I thought it's been around for a long time.
Me too. Fuji Cam, huh? Piece of junk.
Brian and I both use Fujis. What do you use?
Wait, what's going on with my Fuji?
Oh no, I just.
You're out. We lost your picture.
Why did it do that? Come on, that's ridiculous.
I don't know.
What the
Drew,
heck?
you don't have an AC adapter for your camera that you plug into the wall?
Drew, Rebel Yell was introduced in 1936.
Oh, dang. Yeah, so I'm not up to speed on my bourbon history. So
I thought I remember seeing some old Rebel Yell bottles. It was created for Stitzel Weller in the mid-1900s, dude.
Sick.
Around the 100th anniversary of the Weller Company, it was ideal with the idea of distilling it in limited batches for exclusive distribution in the southern states.
You're just on Wikipedia right now, just reading.
No, dude, I'm just pulling out that information for you.
Okay. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's helpful.
Why are you changing the batteries in your camera midstream, Drew? Why are you doing that?
Well, I had to do it like an hour ago. Yeah. So normally my battery will last. I've got an XT30, which is a small DSLR. It's mirrorless. It's nice. It's good. I mean, it's really good for shooting kind of video on the go, which I do for work. This camera I use for work as well. If you want to see some of my work videos, go over to the Stone Creek Coffee YouTube channel.
I'll do that.
Just did a couple just short ones about some of our cafe managers. We're using those for recruiting. That's not what I do on a daily basis, but so the point is that this is the camera that I have.
Dude, don't they make a battery like an AC adapter that plugs right into where the battery goes?
No.
They really?
Yeah.
I
have an old Canon Rebel T3i something.
Canon Rebel Yell T3i.
Yeah.
Is it 10 years old?
It's old. It's got to be 8 or 9 years old. And so that's not great, but that one probably would allow me to plug it in. I tried to set it up as a webcam, though, and it was not doing it because I'm like, it'd be great if I could just set this one up as a webcam so I don't have to, because I have to take this one down every day and then set it back up. And it gets annoying, but okay, I gotta hang it up. Brian, you're Eastern time. Matt, are you Eastern time?
Yeah, it's very late. Every time we record, it's very late. It's 11:30 my time. Yeah, I'm very tired.
It's 10:25 my time, and I'm pretty zapped myself, so I'm about to hang it up.
I'm in the mountain time now, brother.
Nice.
He's like, it's time for me to cook dinner.
Yeah, right.
It's like
it is early.
Time's all messed up for me now.
You just don't even keep track. You're like, whatever. It's dark out.
It's time for bed. That's all I say.
Yeah. Well, Matt, dude, thanks for jumping on. That was fun.
Well, yeah, guys, thanks for inviting me.
Are you going to be doing any Kentucky-based events at any point? I was thinking about going down for Bourbon on the Banks in October.
I've been invited to. I can like pick a couple if I want to go.
Sure.
And then Bourbon Bourbon Company will kind of get me there and stuff. But the problem is the kids and then my wife's work. So basically, I'm the stay-at-home dad who just, I do this at night. So it's without me being here, then she has to take time off work. So I doubt it, but maybe, I don't know. I'd like to. Yeah,
we had at one stream we threw out like, what if we did a meetup, and a lot of Nation was up for that. So I thought it might be interesting to at some point try and coordinate something with a few other tubers, and I thought it'd just be a fun party. We could throw a party. It'd be pretty dank. We'll see. But anyway, it's good to see you. We'll have you on for an official stream. Maybe we'll tackle a few topics here in the very near future. I was so unprepared for tonight, it almost didn't happen. It was a game time decision. Brian's texting me like, so are we doing this tonight or what? I go, I hope so. It's been a long couple of days. But anyway, Nation.
You guys got to do more of the tastings like you were doing the blind ones. Those are great.
They're so fun. It's so fun. And we just need people to send us blinds is the deal. We could send each other blinds, or we could have our wives pull from our collections.
It's more fun if it's completely blind. You have no idea. That's always the best.
Yeah, it's a dumpster fire though. Like as was clearly on display for both of those blinds. Like it's fun to think through, and it kind of makes sense until you're like, and then they tell you what it is. You're like, of course it is that. Like,
Brian's always like, did they just send us OFC 1994? That's what this is. I think that's what this is. I'm like,
that's right.
He always assumes that they sent him something crazy. He's like, this is King of Kentucky or President.
I think I kind of do that too. And it's just like, you just need to dumb it down. It's probably not that super exotic.
But it's better to be wrong that way than the other way, though.
That's what I thought was most interesting, though. Is like, if you think, I remember when we did a bullet pick one time, I sampled out to my buddy and he said, is this Van Winkle rye? So if you can get a $55 bullet pick that makes somebody wonder if it's Van Winkle rye, it's probably a bottle worth having and drinking. Just saying. And so I love having those moments where it's like, is it King of Kentucky? The very hard to get limited single barrel $300 bottle? Oh no, it's just a $55 Old Knob Creek. Convenient. I would love to have that.
Yeah, I would say that
reminds me of
the thing of doing that stuff is we've had a couple Knob Creek picks that have been bangers. Tight Cuts, who I think is new to the stream, or at least a new commenter. So glad to have you, Cuts, for sure. Best sippers together tonight. Well, thanks. I just feel like when Matt comes in, he's a natural addition. Obviously, people know Matt. His channel is very successful, but thanks for tuning in, Matt. Glad to always have you. I feel like we would be best friends if we actually lived close together.
Heck yeah.
So Matt, here's what I don't understand. First, Tight, thanks for that super chat. Somebody else threw a $2 super chat in earlier that I just need to say thank you to. So wait for it.
Yeah, that's who asked the best bourbons of the year.
Oh yeah, Deagle 7298. So thanks, Deagle. Appreciate that. Anyway, Tights says Matt with the eye roll back sip, Drew with Captain Jack sip, Brian with turkey throat sip. I don't know what any of that means.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. Dude, every time I take a sip of something, I roll my eyes back and it drives me nuts. I try to edit it out of my videos.
Get out.
Because it's creepy because you can see the whites of my eyes. So while I'm sipping stuff, I'm trying not to do it, and then I go back to edit the video, and I'm like, idiot, stop doing that. It looks creepy.
Yeah.
But then I just live with it.
Yeah, I don't know why he's calling mine Captain Jack, but I chew like a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always cut out my chews too, because I'll sip and it'll take me forever. That, and then I cut out my swallows because people are like, dude, your swallow is so loud. And it is, but I don't know. I must have like a disorder of the throat or something, because it sounds like I just swallowed like a rib cage or something. But Brian with a turkey throat sip, you also chew like a crazy person, Brian.
Yeah, and I also pour nothing in my glass. So I'm always like,
maybe that's
which
it.
might not be the reference, but that's what I feel like I do all
So
the time.
yeah,
So.
I mean, Tyke could throw in his descriptions, what he's talking about, but that's fine. Appreciate the super chat regardless. And I just hit Tom. Tom's apparently sending us a blind. And then a local friend of mine said he was putting together a blind for us as well. So we will have more blinds in the very near future. They are hella fun for sure. Nation, thanks for tuning in tonight. We're going to wrap it there. Just a reminder, if you got to drink seltzer, drink High Noons. Maybe one day they'll sponsor us. Make sure if you ever tag Brian and I in a post, also tag High Noon so they get the hint. You can also tag whiskey companies because that's we like. Yeah. Anyway,
You know what? That's BS. I say screw High Noon. If they're not going to talk to you, then make that a point. We used to drink High Noon sunsets,
but now we don't.
That's all we could talk about. Unfortunately, they don't like to talk back. So from here on out, looks like we're drinking anything else.
That's a good point.
Let's go.
Actually,
you know what?
There's some local friends of mine just started canned sangria thing. That is awesome. So Brian, I should send you some of that. And you know what?
Send me some.
They'd sponsor the channel.
You know what? High Noons.
That's
I'm
right.
done. We're
enough
done.
of it.
As of now, done.
That was fast. That was you really. I mean, if we really turned a corner here, I was just coming.
There's
around
also a local seltzery opening up 43 steps from the front door of my cafe. So
Seltzery is not a real thing, Brian.
I don't care. They have vodka in their water and flavors, and I'm here for it.
So you and Fred probably don't get along really on the whole vodka sucks deal.
It's not the vodka and seltz thing that me and Fred don't get along about. It's the fact that he wears a sports coat and jeans and Merrill sneakers. That's what we don't get along about, because I don't trust anybody who dresses like that. So,
no. Well, I at some point really want to meet Fred so I can form an actual opinion about him. Because right now it's just all influence. A friend of mine texted me earlier. Let me read his text, and then we'll sign it off here. I keep trying to sign this off, but there's just too many interesting things.
And then Brian says something like seltzery.
Like, whoa, we just can't let that sit.
I didn't open it. It's just going in next to my building. I don't know. It's
So
not open yet.
This is
Do
what
they
I'm
make
saying.
celery at the seltzery?
Maybe I'll get a nice crisp IPA. Will that make you hipsters happy if I drink an IPA at the seltzery?
I enjoy IPAs. It's not my go-to, but I do enjoy the memes about how bad IPAs are. That's funny.
Those are one of my favorites.
Yeah, I really enjoy this. Okay, so this is what my friend says. I'm not a fan of cancel culture, but I want to cancel Fred Minnick. His above the chart this week is stupid. Quote unquote, these are the future Dusties that you should buy the case right now. Which
I heard it.
I did not hear it. But this is just the point. Like this is, I just showed his name. This is my boy. I love him to death. But I do think that there are things that people will go crazy for in the future. Rare breed being one of them. That people will wish they bunkered. I have not bunkered rare breed because I have too much whiskey to begin with, and I would kill myself if I drank it all. But if I was storing something up as like a whiskey investment, it would probably be rare breed 108.3 or whatever. 116.8. I think 116.8. I had a 108.3 at one point, and I drank it all. That was the one I had. But 116.8, I think, is that more recent batch. Anyway, so I have not listened to it, but I think there's something to be said for whiskeys like that yes, will be in high demand in years to come. That said, I think my friend just doesn't want Fred encouraging people to go buy cases of good whiskey and make it
Right.
harder to find. So I think that was what he was getting at.
Mhm.
Shut up,
Well,
Fred.
he did say Wild Turkey 101. So
Oh.
I mean, good luck buying all that up.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Wild Turkey 101. Like, it's fine. Like the 101 8-year, that's an actual Dusty, tastes nothing like 101 today. It's in the same family for sure, but very, very different. Kind of different levels of quality, in my opinion. So I'll have to go listen to it. We're gonna save this conversation. We're way past going, and now I'm talking about.
I'll also let anyone know, if you are just now going to be finishing the stream, there are 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Cowboys have the ball at the Buccaneers 35. They're down 26-28. They're obviously in field goal range under the 2-minute mark. So it's quite possible to take the 1-point lead. It's a matter of whether or not the Buccaneers are going to be able to follow suit. So very engaging finish to the NFL if you want to now switch over and watch the NFL.
And if your team wins, celebrate with a store brand general run-of-the-mill flavored seltzer.
That's right.
Anything not High Noon.
High Noon.
You can't say the name. He said the name.
Chance. No, I'm just. Well, anyway, whatever. I'm sorry. I can't keep up. I'm tired. Let's go to bed. Y'all have a good night. You know how to follow us. It's all down in the links below. And follow Matt's channel, ADHD Whiskey. He's a swell guy.
Everybody remember to stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe, and remember to keep it neat.
Scare money, don't make money.
100%.